What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. Death God Awakening Sharingan 1 Decigram Chapter 1. God's soldiers descend from the sky, and baseball bats hit the void, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 1. Godly soldiers descend from the sky, baseball bats hit the hollow, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Naya, did you see it? I saw it. What kind of monster is that? In Kurosaki Hospital, Kurosaki Ichigo expressed his inner shock to the boy in front of him. What happened today refreshed his worldview. The world actually has not only souls, but also terrifying creatures that look like demons. Unlike Kurosaki Ichigo, the boy named Naya also saw Manos Grande today, but he was not afraid, but excited. Because this means that the plot has finally begun. That's right. Naya is a time traveler. He traveled here 16 years ago. I thought it was just an otherworld until one day I saw the hideous Manos Grande. After confirming that this world was a Shinigami world, he immediately moved to Karakura Town 6 years ago and stayed at Kurosaki Hospital. It must be said that although Karakura Town is a place of heavy spirits, the public security here is exceptionally good. I haven't seen the figure of a hollow for 3 whole years. Until today, when I was going home from school, there was an explosion on a busy street, and Manos Grande suddenly appeared in the smoke like a mantis. He and Kurosaki Ichigo were chased for a long time. Along the way, they met Rukia Kuchiki standing on a telephone pole, wearing a death suit, who killed Manos Grande with just one knife. And this is the first scene of the plot. After coming to his senses, Shuin smiled and said, "What's there to be afraid of? The existence of such a terrible monster in the world means that there must be a way to deal with such a monster." While the two were talking, a girl with light yellow hair and a very cute look came over. "Ichigo brother, Naya brother, do you want to eat?" "No, I have no appetite today." Kurosaki Ichigo shook his head. He didn't want to eat at all after encountering such an amazing thing today.
"Yuzu-chan, thank you." Nanai rubbed Kurosaki Yuzu's head.
The girl in front of him was named Kurosaki Yuzu, the younger sister of Kurosaki Ichigo, and a very gentle girl. Thinking about what was going to happen next, Naya specifically reminded, "Yuzu, a girl of your age must go to bed early." Kurosaki Yuzu nodded obediently. Next to him, Kurosaki Shiali teased, "Nanaba, why are you so considerate? Are you in love with Yuzu?" Kurosaki Yuzu's face immediately turned red, and she lowered her head and whispered, "Shiali, don't talk nonsense, Nanaba just treats me as a sister." "What? Nanaba likes Yuzu?" Kurosaki Ishin was so excited that tears filled his eyes when he heard this, and rushed to his wife's photo. "Mother, did you hear that? Yuzu has grown up, she is an adult, and she will get married soon." "Shut up, stupid dad." Kurosaki Ichigo came back to his senses and said with a dark face, "Yuzu is only 12 years old. Compared to those, you should put away that idiotic portrait first."
Kurosaki Ishin's voice became louder, and he cried to the portrait, "Wife, are you in the rebellious period now? Ichigo is so cold to me."
Kurosaki Ichigo was so upset that he walked towards the room speechlessly. "I'm a little tired today, I'm going to sleep first." Kurosaki Shiali sighed helplessly, shook her head and said, "It's all Dad's fault." "Hey, why?" Kurosaki Ishin asked, wronged. "You're already in your 40s, but you're still so childish when you do things. Ichigo is obviously very sad today." Listening to Kurosaki Shiali's narration, Kurosaki Ishin covered his heart in a funny way. "You're so exaggerated, Dad is so sad." Kie couldn't help but smile, stood up and said,
"Then I'll go to rest too. Today, he was chased by the hollow for a long time. Even though he often exercises, he still feels a little tired and needs to rest first."
Soon, night fell on Karakura Town. The whole street fell into darkness, and bursts of roars were faintly heard. "Here it comes." Kie looked at the figure outside the window vigilantly. Under the light of the street lamp, it was obvious that the monster was 3 meters tall, black in color, with a pale white mask on its face.
There is a hole that goes through the abdomen. The first impression is horror, as if a demon from hell has come to the world. Although I have seen it in anime, only after encountering it in real life can I feel how terrible this monster is.
Kie sighed as he looked at Manos Grande. After coming to his senses, Kie took out the metal baseball bat that he had prepared long ago, swung it, and nodded with satisfaction when he heard the sound of breaking through the air. "Not bad." Boom! A deafening roar sounded. I saw that a big hole was blasted out of the wall of Kurosaki Hospital, and Manos Grande, who looked as hideous as a demon, walked in with a roar. "Oh! What is this?" In the living room, Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Shiali were startled, turned their heads and saw Manos Grande, with fear in their eyes. Due to excessive shock and fear, they even forgot to run away. Seeing the hideous monster in front of her reaching out to attack, Kurosaki Shiali didn't know where she got the courage from, and pushed Kurosaki Yuzu out desperately. "Yuzu, run!" After pushing Kurosaki Yuzu away, Kurosaki Shiali was about to be held in Manos Grande's hand. At the critical moment, bang! Nanae was like a god, holding a metal baseball bat, and hit Manos Grande's head hard, knocking Manos Grande back 2 steps. Nanae brother, Kurosaki Shiali looked at Naya in surprise. Naya raised the corner of his mouth, directly carried Kurosaki Shiali on his shoulders, and smiled. Shiali, how was my hit just now? Kurosaki Shiali's eyes were full of tears, and she nodded vigorously and said, the best, home run. Just like that, Naya carried Kurosaki Shiali on his left shoulder, held Kurosaki Yuzu in his left hand, and quickly came to Kurosaki Ichigo's room. Looking at the locked bedroom door, Naya kicked it unceremoniously. Bang! The bedroom door was kicked away. Naya. Kurosaki Ichigo, who was imprisoned by Bakudo and kneeling on the ground, turned his head and looked at the person in amazement. Wait, what's going on with you? Are you going to elope with my 2 sisters? Rukia Kuchiki, wearing a Death Tyrant uniform, also looked at Naya with surprised eyes, and it can be clearly felt that this person's spiritual power is not weak. Naya glanced at the 2 people in the room and said in the simplest language. No time to explain, go and invite Ultraman. As he said that, Naya rushed forward in 2 or 3 steps, hugged the 2 cute girls, and hid behind Rukia Kuchiki. Kurosaki Ichigo and Rukia Kuchiki were confused. After 2 seconds of stunned, Kurosaki Ichigo's mouth twitched, and he said with a black line on his head. Naya, I can't invite Ultraman, how about I invite Astro Boy for you? Kurosaki Natsuki was almost angry with these 2 unreliable people. Naya, let's talk about serious things. Naya laughed, hid behind Rukia Kuchiki and pointed outside the bedroom. There are ghosts chasing us behind. While speaking, Naya was also looking at Kurosaki Ichigo and Rukia Kuchiki. The former had his hands behind his back and was kneeling on the ground, as if he was tied up by an invisible rope, which made him look particularly weird. Needless to say, he must have been hit by Keto from the front. The latter looked familiar and very cute. She had short hair with a curled tail, a petite figure, deep purple eyes, a single fringe hanging down to her forehead, and was wearing a black Shiba costume with a Zanpakuto on her waist. Although her breasts were very stingy, they gave people an inexplicable sense of mystery.
Although small, I really want to touch them.
Kie reacted and was a little surprised why she was staring at Rukia Kuchiki's kuchiki. Among the 3 major comics of migrant workers, this one has the thinnest figure in the position of the heroine, and was nicknamed Frozen Age Loli by netizens in the previous life. Hey, you hide behind me, can you see me like that guy? Rukia Kuchiki turned her head and looked at Kie in surprise. What is going on in this city? First there was Kurosaki Ichigo, and now there is a human who seems to be able to see herself. Could it be that this city has more spiritual energy? Just as Rukia Kuchiki was thinking, Kie looked at Rukia Kuchiki's chest, blinked, and stretched out his hand. What on earth is attracting me? Chapter 2. Battle. Rukia Kuchiki's shock, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 2. Fighting. Rukia Kuchiki's shock, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Silence. Silence. Dead silence. Even though there were constant roars from below, the 5 people in the room fell into silence.
Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes almost popped out. He had known that Naya was very brave, but this was too much. The Shinigami girl in front of him, although petite, had a knife on her waist. Rukia Kuchiki was also stunned. She blinked her eyes and stared at the salty pig hand on her chest. For a moment, she didn't know what to do.
Only Naya looked at Rukia Kuchiki's chest in confusion, pinched the left side, rubbed it again, and frowned slightly. No, it's not this. Putting back her right hand, Naya put her hand on the right side again. It's not that. Finally, under Rukia Kuchiki's dull eyes, Kie seemed to have thought of something, and put his hand horizontally on Rukia Kuchiki's chest in surprise. Ha, this is right. Due to Rukia Kuchiki's petite figure, his right hand almost occupied her chest.
He could clearly feel the warmth coming. It was as if a heat wave flowed from Rukia Kuchiki's body into his right hand, and then from his right hand into his mind.
Wait. What are you doing? You be asterisk 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 D. Rukia Kuchiki finally reacted, looking at Kie with a red face, extremely ashamed and angry, and directly pulled out the soul-slaying sword at his waist. Take your hand away quickly. While speaking, Rukia Kuchiki's voice had a hint of crying.
Although she was born in Rukongai, she had a very strong character and agile skills since she was a child, and she had never been taken advantage of by anyone.
Afterwards, she was adopted by the Kuchiki family and became the eldest lady of the Kuchiki family with a more noble status.
I have never experienced anything like this before.
Kie blinked, looked down and realized what he had done. His face turned red and he quickly took his hand back. Sorry, I didn't notice that it was your breasts at all. I just wanted to touch it.
What is he talking about? Rukia Kuchiki was ashamed and angry. She gritted her teeth, raised her soul-slaying sword, and said in a decisive voice.
Be prepared, you little pervert. Kurosaki Ichigo looked at Kie speechlessly. Kie, you just said there was a ghost outside. Could it be you, a pervert?
Come to think of it, I didn't know you actually liked this type of girl.
I didn't even see her breasts. Bang! Rukia Kuchiki kicked Kurosaki Ichigo away, pointed her soul-slaying sword at him, and said with a dark face.
Shut up, I won't let you go either. Huh, Kurosaki Ichigo was dumbfounded.
Why? Rukia Kuchiki was furious. One of the two rascals kicked her, and the other took advantage of her and asked her why. On the other side, looking at the three people who were still fighting, Kurosaki Shiali and Kurosaki Yuzu were so anxious that they cried. They pointed outside and said, Nanae, Ichigo, and that girl, stop messing around. The monster outside is really scary. That monster smashed the wall. Let's run quickly. What? Rukia Kuchiki's face changed. Suddenly, there was a roar outside the bedroom. The ferocious Manos Grande with a pale mask came to the second floor at some point and poked his head out of the door and roared. The huge body hit the door frame, deforming it and dropping gravel. Hollow. Rukia Kuchiki's pupils contracted, and she called out the monster's name, then turned her head to look at Naya, gnashing her teeth and asking. Why didn't you tell me at the beginning? It was obviously not good for her as a Shinigami to face the Hollow in such a narrow space. Naya spread her hands and said, I said I would ask Ultraman. After that, Naya stepped forward, picked up Kurosaki Yuzu and Kuroki Shiali again, jumped out of the window. This damn pervert, I have to teach you a lesson. Rukia Kuchiki gritted her teeth and jumped down. Next was Kurosaki Ichigo, who jumped down with difficulty while being imprisoned by Keto. After everyone jumped out of the window, Manos Grande finally squeezed into the room, roared angrily at the people who were running away, and then stepped forward and violently rushed towards the window. Bang! The window and the window frame were smashed to pieces. Manos Grande's huge body fell to the ground, making a deafening noise. Two giant footprints were trampled on the ground. Without caring about the four people of Naya, Rukia Kuchiki drew out the soul-slaying sword when he landed on the ground, protecting the four people behind him, and said in a deep voice. Stay behind me well, this is not a guy you can deal with, leave it to me next. Well, I know. Kurosaki Ichigo nodded blankly. What happened today refreshed his worldview, and for a moment he didn't know what to do. Holding the soul-slaying sword tightly, Rukia Kuchiki rushed forward. Even though she was petite, Rukia Kuchiki was a real Shinigami. With just a few slashes, Manos Grande's limbs were cut by her. Then he stepped back 2 steps, raised his right hand and chanted. Oh, the Lord! The mask of flesh and blood, the universe, the thing that flies high, the thing that bears the name of humanity. Scorch and strife, rolling back across the sea to the south, step forward. Hado 31 Red Cannon. As the chanting fell, a dazzling flame burst out from Rukia Kuchiki's right hand. Boom! The flame hit the pale mask of Manos Grande, and his head was smashed to pieces as he wailed. The huge body gradually turned into black spirits and disappeared. It's over. Rukia Kuchiki breathed a sigh of relief and took back the soul-slaying sword. On the roof of Kurosaki Hospital, 2 middle-aged uncles quietly watched the situation below. Captain Kurosaki, he was killed. No way, catch 2 more. Shinigami, be careful. Kurosaki Ichigo suddenly discovered something and pointed anxiously behind Rukia Kuchiki. Is there something behind me? Rukia Kuchiki looked behind her in confusion. She saw a more hideous-looking Manos Grande with green body and bat wings flying out of the black crack that appeared out of thin air.
Before Rukia Kuchiki could react, he bit her shoulder fiercely.
Instantly, blood spurted out. Scarlet liquid flowed down the wound, staining Rukia Kuchiki's clothes red.
Rukia Kuchiki groaned miserably, gritted her teeth and swung a knife, wounding the Manos Grande in front of her, and retreated quickly while it opened its mouth.
Back in front of Naya and others, Rukia Kuchiki fell to his knees with a plop. He looked at the hollow that appeared again in disbelief.
How could a Reiatsu appear without noticing the second hollow at all?
But it was not over yet. In Rukia Kuchiki's shocked eyes, another hideous-looking Manos Grande walked out of the black crack. At this time, 2 Manos Grande appeared, looking greedily at the 5 people on the opposite side. The third one. Rukia Kuchiki was even more shocked. Are those 2 too much? Naya frowned and looked in the direction of Kurosaki Hospital, then clenched the metal baseball bat in his hand and protected Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Shiali behind him. He didn't care if he wanted Kurosaki Ichigo to become a Shinigami, but he didn't want Yuzu and Shiali to get hurt. Roar! Roar! The 2 Manos Grande roared, staring greedily at the 5 people on the opposite side, opened their mouths wide, and rushed over with roars. Not good. Rukia Kuchiki's face changed drastically, and he tried to stand up, but as soon as he stood up, he fell to the ground in pain. It hurts, the injury is too serious, there's nothing I can do. Kurosaki Ichigo gritted his teeth, roared, and used his arms to break the keto rune that imprisoned him. After doing all this, Kurosaki Ichigo raised his fist and rushed towards one of the Manos Grandes. Idiot, you are no match. Rukia Kuchiki looked at Kurosaki Ichigo anxiously. Before he could finish his words, Naya dragged the metal baseball bat in his hand and took the initiative to meet another hollow. Bang! The metal baseball bat hit the Manos Grande's head hard, and with its tyrannical force, it actually cracked the mask of the hollow. No way, relying on brute force, to hurt the hollow. Rukia Kuchiki half knelt on the ground, covering the wound on his shoulder with his left hand, and looked at the boy holding the metal baseball bat in shock. What's wrong with this guy? Chapter 3 Awakening, Mangekyo Sharingan, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 3 Awakening, Mangekyo Sharingan. Please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Hollows are the product of the corruption of human souls. They're characterized by a hole in their chests and a mask on the side, which represents the emptiness and evil in their hearts. The corrupted hollows will feed on human souls, and even the lowest level hollows have quite terrible power. Only Shinigami can fight against hollows. Humans can only be slaughtered when facing hollows. So they, Shinigami, need to protect humans. All of the above are the experiences that Rukia Kuchiki heard from her battle teacher when she was at the Spiritual Arts Academy. But, the boy in front of her actually beat back the hollow with just a metal baseball bat. Could it be that guy is the same? Shocked in her heart, Rukia Kuchiki turned her head and looked at Kurosaki Ichigo. If this guy is also so powerful, then even if she was injured, maybe no human would be eaten by the hollow today. Just when Rukia Kuchiki looked, Kurosaki Ichigo flew backwards in front of her. I was hit. Rukia Kuchiki silently retracted her gaze. She fixed her gaze on Naya, who was hitting the hollow with a metal baseball bat. It seemed that only this boy was so fierce. After Kurosaki Ichigo was hit, Nanaya's opponent changed from one hollow to two hollows. In an instant, the pressure doubled. The metal baseball bat was swung so hard that it almost left an afterimage. Even so, it was a little bent. It would be completely useless in a short time. Damn it, Naya, wait for me. Kurosaki Ichigo clenched his fist unwillingly and looked around for useful tools. Hearing this, Naya used a metal baseball bat to block the claw swung by the hollow, exhaled, and said loudly without looking back. Don't come over to make trouble. You and the Shinigami girl should study how to kill these two monsters. Kurosaki Ichigo, who has not become a Shinigami, is just a strong young man who can't even beat himself, let alone beat the hollow. He wanted to remind Rukia Kuchiki to quickly turn Kurosaki Ichigo into a Shinigami. But this can't be said directly, and there is no way to explain it, so Naya can only find an excuse to let the two guys communicate. I know, Naya, hold on a little longer. Seeing this, Kurosaki Ichigo had to grit his teeth and limp to Rukia Kuchiki's side. Shinigami, do you have any ideas? Hearing this, Rukia Kuchiki looked at the human in front of him, took a deep breath, clenched the soul-slaying sword in his hand, and said in a deep voice. There is only one way, that is, you become a Shinigami. It is against the rules of the Soul Society to give the power of Shinigami to humans. But there is no better way now. She doesn't want to die here, nor does she want to see the human youth in front of her and his sister being eaten by Manos Grande. Become a Shinigami, Kurosaki Ichigo showed a surprised expression. Rukia Kuchiki nodded and pointed the Zanhun sword in his hand at Kurosaki Ichigo's chest. Human, stab this blade into your heart. In this way, you can gain the power of Shinigami. Hearing this, Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes became firm and he grabbed the blade in Rukia Kuchiki's hand. My name is not human, my name is Kurosaki Ichigo. A smile appeared on Rukia Kuchiki's face. My name is not Shinigami either. My name is Rukia Kuchiki, on the other side, in the center of the battlefield. As Kie swung the metal baseball bat again, there was a click, and the bent metal baseball broke on the spot due to metal fatigue. It's really useless. I should have found a rebar earlier. Kie frowned and threw away the half of the metal baseball bat. He glanced behind him and found that the two had not finished yet. Nothing can be done. After taking a deep breath, Kie clenched his fists and blocked the two Manos Grande's advances head-on. Roar. The two Manos Grande's roared furiously. Being beaten head-on by a mere human, even if their IQ was not high, they still felt angry. In a furious state, they swung their sharp claws and hit them desperately. Not good. Nanaya's pupils contracted. With the experience of being attacked by Kurosaki Ishin, he instinctively raised his arms and used his forearms to block the claws. Bang! Bang! With two muffled sounds, Naya successfully blocked the palm of Manos Grande with his forearms, but his face became distorted and he almost broke his teeth. Monster, so powerful. When he used the metal baseball bat, he didn't feel how amazing the strength of these Manos Grande was. It was not until he fought with bare hands that he felt that these Manos Grande were simply monsters, and their fists were comparable to those of a heavy truck. The sharp claws kept pressing down, and it was only 10 centimeters away from piercing Nanaya's neck. And the distance was getting closer and closer. Looking at the Manos Grande next to him, he spread his blue bat wings, roared, and attacked him from the sky on the other side. Crisis. A huge crisis. Nanaya's pupils contracted and expanded, and he didn't even think that the two people in Kurosaki Hospital could save him. In the original novel, when Yuzu and Sha Li were attacked, the two did not come out to help, let alone an outsider who had no relatives or friends. Everything can only be done by yourself, at the moment of being attacked. The warmth that was felt in Rukia Kuchiki's chest suddenly burst out from Kai's mind and flowed into his eyes like a spring. Burning, cold, dark, tyrannical. All kinds of feelings burst out at the same time, and the black eyes became as red as blood.
At this moment, Kia's eyes became extremely cold, staring at the attacking Bad Manos Grande, and said almost instinctively, Amaterasu. In an instant, the Bad Manos Grande, who was stared at by Kia's eyes, had black spots on its blue bat wings, and then, with a huang sound, a blazing black flame ignited. The huge body fell heavily to the ground, and the huge bat wings were covered by black flames.
Roar! 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 The Bad Manos Grande, which was ignited by the flames, roared in pain, struggled madly, and desperately used its claws to slap the black flames on the bat wings. But the flames of black flames are inextinguishable. The claws of the Bad Manos Grande that slapped the flames were also ignited by the black flames, and gradually the whole body was immersed in the sea of black flames. Under the dull eyes of everyone, the blue-colored, almost devilish Bad Manos Grande was burned to ashes by the black flame Amaterasu while wailing. The world seemed to be silent at this moment. Whether it was Kurosaki Ichigo and Rukia Kuchiki who maintained the knife-holding posture, or Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Shiali who were not far away.
Even Naya, who used the black flame Amaterasu, fell into a strange silence.
After an unknown amount of time, Naya came back to his senses and looked at the black flames that burned the Bad Manos Grande to ashes and burned quietly on the ground in surprise. As this black flame Amaterasu, the black flame, the flame that will not go out, is released through his own eyes, and the name is instinctively called Amaterasu. Every aspect is exactly the same as the Mangekyo Sharingan eye technique in his impression. Is it not the Shinigami world that he traveled through? But the Hokage world, surprised. Naya looked back at the glass fragments in the room, and saw his eyes in their reflection. The white of his eyes is still there, but the pupils are a little different. The black pupils have turned into red pupils, with a black windmill pattern in the center. As this Mangekyo Sharingan. The color and pattern of the eyes undoubtedly prove that this is the Sharingan of the Shinigami world, or the awakened Mangekyo Sharingan. The eye technique used is also black flame Amaterasu, which will not extinguish until the opponent is burned to ashes. Wait, that guy Naya. Kurosaki Ichigo, holding the blade of the Soul Zan knife, stared at Naya's figure with his eyes wide open. Obviously, he was chased all over the ground by Manos Grande at the beginning, and could only barely fight back, but how could he burn Manos Grande to ashes in the blink of an eye? Rukia Kuchiki was also shocked and speechless. While the two were shocked, their bodies almost instinctively completed what they had decided before. The blade of the Soul Zan knife stabbed forward. After a squeak, the blade of the Soul Zan knife pierced Kurosaki Ichigo's heart. Kurosaki Ichigo. He lowered his head and saw the blade piercing his heart, then raised his head to look at Rukia Kuchiki and said silently, is it necessary for me to become a Shinigami now? Rukia Kuchiki. Chapter 4. Inferno-style flame control, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 4 Eye technique. Inferno-style flame control, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Rukia Kuchiki was so shocked that she couldn't speak. When Naya fought against Manos Grande as a human, she felt unbelievable because she had never seen such a human. Unexpectedly, it was even more outrageous now. She actually killed a Manos Grande as a human. What is that black flame? Why hasn't it been extinguished yet? Why did such a powerful Ryūjin appear? When all kinds of questions emerged, Rukia Kuchiki noticed that the soul-slaying sword pierced Kurosaki Ichigo's heart, and she quickly looked up. Boom! The violent Ryūjin's body surface exploded. When Ryūjin disappeared, Kurosaki Ichigo in front of him changed his clothes and wore a black death tyrant uniform with a giant sword on his shoulder. Successful, turned into a Shinigami. Rukia Kuchiki stared at Kurosaki Ichigo in a daze, and then he looked down and found that almost all of his power as a Shinigami had been taken away. He could no longer even maintain his Shinigami form, and his clothes turned into white blood-stained clothes. Not noticing that Kurosaki Ichigo had become a Shinigami, Naya looked at the second hollow with cold eyes. The scarlet eyes still felt burning. In the left eye, it seemed that there was still an endless black flame, waiting for Naya, the owner, to vent them at any time. But the power of the right eye was even more violent, causing the entire eye to burn. So, Naya said indifferently, Inferno-style flame control. Suddenly, the black flames burning quietly on the ground seemed to be shaped by an invisible force and condensed into 7 javelins. Shua shua shua. The 7 javelins formed by the black flames extended infinitely, chi chi shua. The ferocious Manos Grande in front of him was directly pierced by 7 black flame javelins.
Manos Grande's figure was almost pushed into the air, and 7 black flame javelins pierced from his back.
Roar! Roar! Manos Grande roared in pain, struggling frantically with his hands and feet in the air, but he couldn't break the javelins formed by the black flames at all. As Kie took back the control of the black flames, the 7 black flame javelins turned into black flames again. Manos Grande's figure was instantly swallowed by the black flames. In less than 3 seconds, Manos Grande in front of him was burned to ashes by the black flames from the inside out while roaring in pain.
As this Inferno-style flame control, looking at the black flames that burned quietly on the ground and still did not extinguish after burning Manos Grande to death, Kie couldn't help but touch his right eye.
The left eye's pupil technique is Tsukuyomi, and the right eye's pupil technique is flame control. It is exactly the same as Uchiha Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan in the Hokage world, both of which are pure attack type Mangekyo Sharingan. It's over. Looking at the empty streets, Kurosaki Ichigo, who drew his sword, was stunned. Looking down at the sword in his hand, Kurosaki Ichigo suddenly doubted his life. In this case, why did he become a Shinigami? Seeing this, Naya exhaled and walked over, smiling and patting Kurosaki Ichigo's shoulder. Don't be disappointed, it's the best news that you can become a Shinigami. If Kurosaki Ichigo hadn't become a Shinigami, God knows what those two would do. Maybe they would attract the entire Manos Grande of Karakura Town. The corners of Kurosaki Ichigo's mouth twitched, and he didn't understand what the good news Naya said was.
Nanai, is it over? Not far away, the two sisters, Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Natsuki, stared blankly at Naya and Kurosaki Ichigo on the street.
Today refreshed many people's worldviews. They didn't know that the world was so terrible.
Turning around, Naya looked at Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Natsuki, smiled and nodded and said, "It's over. Kurosaki Ichigo has become a Shinigami. Even if he hadn't killed Manos Grande, the two would probably not make any more moves." Hearing this, Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Natsuki burst into tears in their eyes, opened their arms and ran over. "Great, Naya." Kurosaki Yuzu threw herself on Naya like a little bird returning to its nest, and rubbed her little head hard against Naya's arms. "Thank you, Naya-kun." Kurosaki Shali grabbed Naya's clothes and looked at the boy in front of him with gratitude. "Hey, what about me?" Kurosaki Ichigo pointed at himself with a confused face. He was obviously working hard, but he became a Shinigami for no reason. Kurosaki Shali looked over, and although she was very touched in her heart, she still curled her lips proudly. "Brother Ichigo, you didn't do anything." Crack. Kurosaki Ichigo was struck by lightning. Thinking about it carefully, it was true. He didn't do anything except being slapped away by Manos Grande. Suddenly, Kurosaki Ichigo became more disappointed.
"Shali, you can't say that." Kurosaki Yuzu said something about Kurosaki Shali in Naya's arms, then looked at Kurosaki Ichigo and comforted him. "Ichigo brother, don't be sad, although you didn't do anything, but we are also very grateful to you." "It hurts." Kurosaki Ichigo couldn't help but cover his chest and almost cried. The words of a natural sister were more hurtful. Naya laughed dumbly and said, "Yuzu Shali, don't say it. Ichigo has tried very hard, but he didn't catch up with the time." After Kurosaki Ichigo became a Shinigami, the spiritual power he burst out was extremely amazing. If the two hollows were not burned to death by his own Amaterasu, I'm afraid they would be ruthlessly killed by Kurosaki Ichigo's soul-slaying sword. "Naya, thank you." Kurosaki Ichigo looked at Naya gratefully. Sure enough, only his good brothers in the world would comfort him like this. Come to think of it, why would such a monster suddenly appear in a house? Kurosaki Yuzu looked at Naya in confusion. Kurosaki Shali also nodded at the side. What happened today also scared her a lot. "Well, remember that Shinigami?" "No, it was Rukia Kuchiki who said." Kurosaki Ichigo grabbed his hair and thought for a long time. "It seems to be some bad soul." "No, it's the fall of the soul." "No, it's something else." "Why did a hollow suddenly appear?" Naya repeated, and his scarlet eyes looked in the direction of Kurosaki Hospital. "Yeah, why? If he hadn't suddenly awakened Sharingan, he would definitely be seriously injured today." Thinking of this, even with Naya's temper, he was a little dissatisfied. He clenched his fists and wanted to beat those two again. Suddenly, Naya suddenly discovered something. Well, the direction over there. After possessing the Scarlet Sharingan, he found that his vision had been greatly improved. Even at night, you can see what is going on dozens of meters away, so you can clearly see the two figures on the roof of Kurosaki Hospital. Those two bastards, are they watching the fun there? Kai's face turned a little dark. After thinking for a while, he pointed at the dark roof of Kurosaki Hospital and said loudly. "Wait, there are two more Manos Grande there." "What?" Kurosaki Ichigo jumped up immediately and rushed into Kurosaki Hospital with a big knife. He was ridiculed by his two sisters, and he was angry in his heart, and he was determined to kill one of the hollows. Quote. "No way, they saw us." On the roof of Kurosaki Hospital, two middle-aged uncles looked in the direction of Kie in surprise. Turning his head, a middle-aged uncle looked at another middle-aged uncle and asked in surprise, "Urahara, didn't you use keto?" The middle-aged uncle named Urahara shook his head and looked at the surrounding environment in surprise. "No, I used keto, and it was the bent light of Bakudo no. 26. Logically, no one should see us." Thinking about it, he couldn't help but look at Naya, and looked at Naya's scarlet eyes. "As that pair of eyes special?" "Forget it." The other middle-aged uncle shook his head, glanced at his silly son who was about to rush up and said,
Let's just leave it at that today. Although the process was tortuous, the goal was achieved after all. Yeah, the middle-aged uncle named Urahara nodded. Just when the two were about to leave, Naya stared at the two, with a black windmill spinning in his scarlet eyes, and said,
Amaterasu. The next second, black flames burst out. The two middle-aged uncles on the roof staggered and left the roof in a somewhat embarrassed manner. Chapter 5 Urahara Shop. Urahara Kazuki with a black face, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 5 Urahara Shop. Urahara Kazuki with a black face. Please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. This is Black Flame Amaterasu. Even you two have to suffer a little, right?
Looking at the two figures fleeing in embarrassment on the roof of Kurosaki Hospital, Nanaya's mouth curled up a little, and she was satisfied. Rubbing Yuzu and Shali's heads, Naya turned to look at Kuchiki Rukia. Hey, Rukia, you're okay. Hey, Naya was speechless for a moment, because the latter had not recovered from the shock. Impossible. How could this be? Rukia Kuchiki leaned against the wall, still looking at the street with shocked eyes. What kind of monsters are these two people? They are obviously human beings, they can see me. They are obviously human beings, but they both have such powerful spiritual power. One can fight Manos Grande with his flesh alone, and after some changes, he can even burn Manos Grande to ashes. The other one actually took away all my spiritual power, even though I only wanted to give him half. Quote. Okay, don't think too much. Nanai walked to Rukia Kuchiki, gently rubbed her hair and comforted her. The world is so big, anything can happen, existence is reasonable. No, you don't know how shocking this thing is. Rukia Kuchiki shook her head vigorously, shook Nanai's hand away and said. You are not Shinigami, nor are you a Quincy. It is impossible to defeat Manos Grande.
Okay, be good, calm down. Nanae continued to rub Rukia Kuchiki's hair, gently comforting this frozen age girl. I have to say, Rukia Kuchiki's hair feels so good, it's like kneading a rag doll. Under Nanaya's head patting, Rukia Kuchiki gradually calmed down. After taking a deep breath, he turned his head and looked at Naya and thanked him. Thank you, I am calm now. Calm down. Rukia Kuchiki reacted, his face flushed, and he looked at Naya with gritted teeth.
You are the pervert who touched my chest, and you are still taking advantage of me now. Do you know how old I am? It doesn't matter. Naya smiled and gave her a thumbs up. I only look at the face, don't you think so? Girl. Rukia Kuchiki was almost vomiting blood in anger. After forcing himself to stand up, he couldn't help but cover his shoulder. It hurts. The bite on his left shoulder was so deep that it even affected his activities. Do you want me to carry you on my back? Absolutely not. Rukia Kuchiki said firmly. Okay. Naya shook his head helplessly, then looked at Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Natsuki, and said, Yuzu Natsuki, you go in first to see Ichigo's condition, why hasn't that guy come out yet? Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Natsuki nodded obediently and ran to the hospital to check on Kurosaki Ichigo's condition. Soon, Kurosaki Yuzu ran out and said anxiously, Naya brother, it's not good, Ichigo brother fainted, no matter how you call, he can't wake up. Naya was a little surprised, and couldn't help but glance at the roof of Kurosaki Hospital.
Even his own son is going to be killed. At this time, Rukia Kuchiki endured the pain and gritted her teeth and said, Don't be nervous, he was not attacked, it's just that the soul is not used to leaving the body for the first time, just let the soul return to the body and sleep. Speaking, Rukia Kuchiki took out a bottle of spray and walked towards the direction of Kurosaki Hospital with difficulty. Don't stop me, I have to let the two girls forget what happened today, otherwise, they will have nightmares in the future. Looking at Rukia Kuchiki's limping appearance, Naya inexplicably thought of the original Shinigami. At that time, Kurosaki Ichigo, Kurosaki Yuzu, and Kurosaki Shali fainted and had no ability to move. I'm afraid it was the girl in front of her who dragged her injured body to settle all the aftermath. What a strong and arrogant guy. Shaking his head helplessly, Naya carried Kurosaki Ichigo's body with his left hand, walked forward, and supported Rukia Kuchiki with his left hand. Wait, what do you want to do? Rukia Kuchiki subconsciously wanted to shake off Kia's hand. Calm down. Kie said quickly. I'm not taking advantage of you, but you protected me, let me repay you. After several attempts to break free, Rukia Kuchiki had no choice but to give up struggling. Looking at the tall boy beside him, he muttered. What a hateful brat, do you know how old I am? This kind of thing is nothing to me. Yes. After helping Rukia Kuchiki into the room, Naya merged Kurosaki Ichigo's soul and body. Looking back, he saw that Rukia Kuchiki was holding a mysterious spray and sprayed Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Shali respectively. The two girls fell down dizzy. That's good, Rukia Kuchiki said with a sigh of relief. They will forget what happened today and will only remember that there was a coincidence. As she said that, she couldn't help looking at Naya, and wanted to spray this bad brat. But she soon gave up this decision. With Nanaya's current Reiatsu, this level of hypnosis can be completely avoided. After sending them back to their rooms, Kie turned to look at Rukia Kuchiki again, and took a closer look at the wound on her shoulder. What are you going to do next, Rukia Kuchiki? Let me go, we're already there. Rukia Kuchiki's face flushed as she struggled, her legs flapping desperately, and Kie finally let go of the girl in her arms.
You damned pervert. Rukia Kuchiki stood on the ground, gritting her teeth as she looked at Kie who was holding her. Hey, you have to be conscientious when you speak. Kie spread her hands innocently and said, you didn't let me carry you, so I used the princess hug posture. Rukia Kuchiki was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. Then why don't you hold me? The first intimate contact in her life, the first princess hug in her life, was actually taken away by this pervert. Forget it, we're here. Rukia Kuchiki, adhering to the attitude of an adult, decided to forgive Naya for this little impoliteness. Turning his head to look at the quaint shop in front of him. This is a grocery store with a 4-character signboard of Urahara store. The whole body is made of wood and looks very old. However, since it was already evening, the sliding door of Urahara store had been closed. Isn't this a grocery store? Can I treat my injuries here? Naya looked at the shop in surprise. Although he said so, Naya actually knew that this was the Urahara store, a store opened by Urahara Kazuki, a trader of Soul Society, former Shinigami captain, and former director of the Technology Development Bureau.
Although it looks like a grocery store, the things sold in it are all Shinigami props. The 2 young clerks inside, although they look like ordinary boys and girls, actually have superhuman powers. In terms of strength, they are not much inferior to the chief officer of the Seirei. The deputy store manager, Tessai Tsukabishi, was once the head of Soul Society. He was able to use all the positions of the keto and was very powerful.
Of course, the most dangerous one was Urahara Kazuki. Putting aside his strength, his mind alone had reached a terrifying level. Yes, this store is very good. As he said that, Rukia Kuchiki knocked on the door. Manager, open the door quickly, I want to buy something. With a creak, the wooden door of the store was pushed open horizontally, and Urahara Kazuki, yawning, walked out lazily. Glancing at the person who came, Urahara Kazuki was surprised. What, isn't this Rukia? You don't look very good, do you need me to treat you? While he was talking, Naya was also looking at him. He had short light yellow hair that was slightly curled, military green eyes, and a little stubble on his chin. Wearing a dark green short coat and light green clothes, a green and white fisherman's hat, and wooden clogs on his feet. The first impression he gave was frivolous and flirtatious. Wait, store manager, what's wrong with you? Rukia Kuchiki ignored Urahara Kazuki's words, but looked at Urahara Kazuki in surprise. I saw that Urahara Kazuki's light yellow hair, for some reason, had a large area of burned curled black.
You can even smell the pungent smell of burnt. Well. Urahara Kazuki touched his hair, couldn't help but glanced at Naya next to Rukia Kuchiki, then turned his head and said with a twitch at the corner of his mouth. Nothing, I just accidentally touched the fire. Chapter 6 My Fullbring, Sharingan. Please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 6 My Fullbring, Sharingan. Please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards.
Really? Then you are really careless. I knew the principle of playing with fire and urinating on the Kong when I was a child. Looking at Urahara Kazuki in front of him, although he knew he was scary, Kie couldn't help but tease him. Quote. Urahara Kazuki. The corners of his mouth couldn't help twitching, and he looked at Kie with a dark face. This guest is really too much. Who do you think set my hair on fire? Wasn't it your weird black flame? Kie laughed in his heart and stopped teasing Urahara Kazuki, lest this guy go berserk or make things difficult for him in the future. Rukia Kuchiki ignored the two and walked into the store after learning the reason. Manager, I need some medicine and some props. As he said that, Rukia Kuchiki seemed to have thought of something, turned his head and looked at Naya and asked, Nana, do you want to come in and take a look? No need. Although he wanted to go in and take a look, Naya still shook his head. He didn't understand why Sharingan was awakened yet, and it was not suitable to get entangled with Urahara Kazuki and others at this time. After thinking about it, Naya took out a piece of paper, wrote the phone number of Kurosaki Hospital on it and handed it to Rukia Kuchiki.
This is my home phone number. If you have any problems or need any help, you can call me and I will help you. After that, Naya waved his hand and left here. Looking at the black-haired boy trotting back under the night sky, Rukia Kuchiki couldn't help but snorted, then held the note in her hand and whispered. Damn pervert, thank you. What, Miss Kuchiki, did you say anything? Nothing. Late at night, Kurosaki Hospital.
Naya was lying on the bed in the bedroom, holding up the mirror to look at the scarlet eyes inside. It's really Mangekyo Sharingan. The black windmill turned in the blood-red eyes, bursting out a sense of mystery that made people sink. With a thought, the scarlet eyes disappeared in the mirror, replaced by Naya's original black eyes. With another thought, the disappearing scarlet eyes replaced the black eyes again. Can the state of the eyes be adjusted at any time? Looking at the changes in the mirror, Naya breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't want to run around with red eyes. But why did I awaken the Sharingan? Putting the mirror aside, Naya touched his chin and thought. He had thought about what superpowers he would awaken. Such as Inoue Orihime's shield Shunrika, Sato Yasutora's giant's left arm, etc. But not at this time. Rukia Kuchiki has not yet replaced the artificial body, which means that Hōgyoku should not have been implanted in Rukia Kuchiki's body. But the warmth I felt before. After thinking carefully for a moment, Naya finally determined that the current Hōgyoku is in Rukia Kuchiki's body.
That is to say, this is not Sharingan, but full-bring technique. The next day, early in the morning. Wake up, Ichigo.
A rough roar sounded in the bedroom. A size 45 foot wearing black socks fell from the sky.
Ah! The tragic sound spread throughout Kurosaki Hospital.
In Kurosaki Ichigo's bedroom, Kurosaki Ichigo's forehead was covered with a cross, and he grabbed Kurosaki Isshin's collar with a dark face and said, "You were so brave to attack me so early in the morning." Kurosaki Isshin raised his thumb with difficulty. "Well done, Ichigo, I have nothing to teach you." At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo suddenly thought of something, grabbed Kurosaki Isshin's collar again, and asked anxiously. "Hey, D Dad, how was Naya last night? Are Yuzu and Sha Li injured?" Huh. Kurosaki Isshin looked at Kurosaki Ichigo blankly. "Ichigo, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the fact that I was burned last night?" Speaking of this, Kurosaki Isshin laughed, rubbed his hair and said embarrassedly. "I was just burned while cooking. I didn't expect you to care about me so much. You are worthy of being my good son." Kurosaki Ichigo looked at Kurosaki Isshin's burnt hair and said with a dark face. "Who cares about you? I'm saying, everyone is fine." Hiei passed by the door with milk and said casually, "If you are in the mood to think about that, why not come over to wash up and eat? Yuzu and Sha Li have already prepared the meal."
Kie. Kurosaki Ichigo stood up in surprise and said, "You are fine. I lost consciousness for some reason last night." Yes. Kie agreed and told him what happened after Kurosaki Ichigo lost consciousness last night. After learning that no one was injured, Kurosaki Ichigo was relieved and completely relieved.
Great, no one was injured. At this time, Hiei turned to look at Kurosaki Isshin and said with a smile, "Uncle, what a coincidence, I also saw a stupid uncle who was burned last night." Ha ha ha, really? Kurosaki Isshin's forehead was covered with cold sweat. Quote. In the living room, on the dining table. Ha ha ha, Kurosaki Ichigo said happily. Such a big truck rushed into the house, it's great that everyone is fine. After learning about the incident from Naya, he was completely relieved. He was in a much happier mood. Kurosaki Yuzu came over with the dishes and said gently, "It must be that mom blessed us in heaven, so we didn't get hurt." That's right. Kurosaki Natsuki looked at the ruins of the wall with emotion. Not only was no one injured, but no one even woke up. That's right. But Yuzu Natsuki, why did you put all the dishes at Nanaya's place? Kurosaki Ichigo looked at the dining table with a frown. There was a luxurious breakfast with 10 dishes, and 9 delicious dishes were placed in front of Naya. In front of him was only a pitiful plate of pickles. Well, Kurosaki Yuzu put her right index finger to her lips, tilted her head in confusion and said, "I don't know either, I just have a feeling that I should thank brother Naya."
I have this feeling too. Kurosaki Natsuki looked at Naya, blushed for some reason, and whispered. Now when I see brother Naya's face, my heart beats so fast, and I always feel shy, as if something happened. Kurosaki Ichigo. Natsuki, you be ******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** angrily and said, "Did you do something to my sister last night?"
Did you? Naya was a little surprised at first, then smiled and rubbed the heads of the two girls. Isn't it normal for a sister to like a brother? He thought it was because Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Natsuki both had spiritual power, which weakened the effect of Rukia kuchiki spray. Although it was not ineffective, at least some memories were vaguely retained. Bang, bang. Kurosaki Yuzu and Kurosaki Shali's faces flushed instantly, they lowered their heads shyly, and whispered. Well, I like brother Naya very much. Me too. Kurosaki Ichigo's mouth twitched, and he pointed at the two cute sisters and said, when have you ever seen them do this to me? The two girls felt even more shy, and couldn't help but look at Kurosaki Ichigo viciously. Brother Ichigo, what are you talking about? I won't give you any food today, just eat pickles. Kurosaki Ichigo. Quote. Soon, after finishing their meal, the two went to school. On the way, Kurosaki Ichigo kept looking at Naya with resentful eyes.
Naya was also helpless about this, and spread his hands and said, "You can't blame me. It's not me who asked you to eat pickles. It's all your fault for provoking Yuzu and Shiali." Kurosaki Ichigo was so sad when he heard this. Yuzu, Shiali. But soon, Kurosaki Ichigo adjusted himself and said cheerfully, "Anyway, it's good that it's over. As for what happened last night, just treat it as a dream." After that, Kurosaki Ichigo carried his school bag and ran to school quickly, laughing loudly.
Nanai, I will definitely get to school earlier than you today. Behind Kurosaki Ichigo, Naya carried his school bag and laughed.
And, is it that easy? After that, he took 2 steps, 3 steps at a time, and soon surpassed Kurosaki Ichigo. Too slow, Ichigo. Chapter 7 Transfer Student, Rukia Kuchiki, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 7 Transfer Student, Rukia Kuchiki, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards.
Karakura First Senior High School. This is the largest school in Karakura Town, accommodating thousands of students.
In the teaching building, Kurosaki Ichigo stopped panting, put his hands on his knees, raised his head, and looked at the figure in front of him in disbelief. Wait, Naya, are you faster than before? No, not just the speed.
Is your physical strength also much stronger than before? The distance from home to school is not close, not far, about 3 kilometers, and it takes about half an hour to walk.
And with Naya running, he ran to school in just 5 minutes.
Damn, professional athletes are not that fast. It's only 3 kilometers, Ichigo, you run too slowly. Naya looked at Kurosaki Ichigo with a smile.
While speaking, he was also thinking, although my speed was very fast before, it still takes about 9 minutes to travel 3 kilometers. 5 minutes today. This means that after awakening Sharingan, my physical fitness has also improved a lot. Is it because of the full bring? While Naya was thinking, in the class, the blonde-haired, big-breasted Inoue Orihime saw Naya and waved happily. Nana, good morning, I made something delicious again today. Saying so, Inoue Orihime said goodbye to Arisawa Tatsuki on the opposite side, holding a lunchbox in his hand, and ran towards Naya. Inoue classmate, be careful there is. Before Naya could finish the reminder, Inoue Orihime stepped on the mop. Ah! Inoue Orihime screamed, and his body fell forward uncontrollably. Seeing that he was about to fall, Naya hurriedly ran over. Bang! The girl and Naya fell to the ground at the same time. Naya didn't feel any pain, but looked at the girl helplessly. Inoue, you are still so reckless. The girl in front of him was named Inoue Orihime, her classmate and a member of the protagonist group of Kurosaki Ichigo in the original work. She was gentle and considerate, but how should I put it, she was reckless when doing things. In short, she was just a natural fool. Inoue Orihime smiled a little embarrassedly, and then suddenly thought of something, and quickly raised the lunchbox.
Nana, I made a lunchbox with bananas and yokon today, do you want to try it?
Inoue. Naya knocked her head and complained. Normally, shouldn't you get up from my body? I forgot. Inoue Orihime woke up from a dream and quickly stood up from Naya's arms. Naya shook his head and stood up. Looking at the plump Inoue Orihime in front of him, he inexplicably thought of Rukia Kuchiki last night. Although he felt a little sorry for Rukia Kuchiki, he couldn't help but compare the two together. Then, Naya said with some pity, poor guy, he hasn't grown up for hundreds of years. The rain from heaven really won't be distributed fairly to everyone.
Inoue Orihime looked at Naya in confusion.
Naya-kun, what are you talking about? Nothing. Naya shook his head and said, I'm just sympathizing with a poor girl. Inoue Orihime tilted his head and thought about it carefully, but still couldn't understand Naya's words. Several people came to the classroom. Keigo Asano waved his hand and said, Naya, Ichigo, I heard that your family was hit by a truck last night, is it true? Yes, it's true. Kurosaki Ichigo nodded. Naya came to his seat, by the window in the back row, the hometown of the king, and put his school bag on the table. Ichigo, Naya, do you need my help? A low and steady voice sounded, and the person who spoke was Sado Yasutora. No, it's almost done. Naya smiled and rejected Sado Yasutora's kindness. That's good. Sado Yasutora nodded slightly. He was taciturn by nature and would only speak when there was something or it was necessary. Naya-kun, look at the bento I made. Inoue Orihime ran over and opened the bento he made for Naya to see. Half of it was rice, and the other half was bananas and yokon, which seemed to be fried together, revealing a mysterious fragrance. It looks good, I'll try it later. Naya took the bento with a smile. Wow, is this true? Naya, do you really want to eat that kind of food? Keigo Asano ran over and looked at the bento in surprise. Of course, you have to try everything in life. Hearing Naya's words, Inoue Orihime looked at Naya even more happily, thinking that he had found a confidant. Listening to the conversation between the few people, Yu's Longui yawned, looked at Naya with dead eyes and said, Naya, you always like to eat Orihime's food, don't you like Orihime? Suddenly, Inoue Orihime's little face turned red, and he quickly turned to look at Arisawa Tatsuki. Longui, don't say that. Naya just wants to eat my bento, not the kind of idea you said. Arisawa Tatsuki rolled his eyes at Inoue Orihime. Idiot. You cook devil food every day, who would eat it every day if they don't like you? Naya couldn't help but smile, and casually put the lunch on the table into the desk. He really didn't have that kind of thought about Inoue Orihime. After all, Inoue Orihime is Kurosaki Ichigo's girlfriend, as the saying goes, a friend's wife should not be bullied. It's just that when he just transferred here, he happened to see Inoue Orihime sharing her lunch with others, but no one was willing to eat her lunch. Seeing Inoue Orihime's lost expression, he simply took the lunch. Unexpectedly, he ate it for several years. Seeing that this side was boring, Keigo Asano quickly changed direction and said to other classmates 8 trigrams. Have you heard? There will be a transfer student in our class today? Other classmates also followed 8 trigrams. Really? There are transfer students at this time? I hope it's a girl, preferably a little prettier, and it would be even better if she could sit next to me. I seem to have seen that transfer student, she looks very beautiful. 8 trigrams voice. A girl in school uniform walked in. Kurosaki Ichigo glanced at her unintentionally, and his eyes almost popped out. He stood up, pointed at her and said in astonishment. You are the one from last night. Ah, this classmate, have we met before? Kuchiki Rukia interrupted Kurosaki Ichigo and smiled and stretched out her hand. There were a few big words written on it. If you dare to tell others, I will kill you. Instantly, Kurosaki Ichigo's forehead was covered with cold sweat. Turning his head, Rukia Kuchiki looked at Naya again, walked over with a smile and stretched out his hand. Just when Kie thought that Rukia Kuchiki was going to threaten him, he saw Rukia Kuchiki with a dark face and gritted teeth saying,
I'm so sorry, my body hasn't developed for hundreds of years, and I can't compare to that classmate at all. Kie. Cough cough cough. Shuein coughed twice, looking at Rukia Kuchiki with a little embarrassment. What? Did you hear it? I heard it. Rukia Kuchiki gritted teeth and said, I heard it clearly, you D slandered me in the corridor.
Huh. Kie was stunned for a moment and explained, Classmate Kuchiki, you used the wrong words, I don't think that was slander. Facing Rukia Kuchiki's murderous gaze, Kie shut up tactfully. HMPH. Rukia Kuchiki snorted, turned her head to look at Inoue or Hime, stole a glance at her chest, and then looked down at her own. Her own. Rukia Kuchiki. Naya comforted, Kuchiki classmate, don't be sad, big breasts have their own troubles. What troubles? Are you tired when running? Shut up. Yes. After a while, the 3 of them came to the rooftop.
Naya, this guy, isn't this the Shinigami from last night?
Kurosaki Ichigo pointed at Rukia Kuchiki in horror.
Rukia Kuchiki snorted and said, Don't call me Shinigami, I have a name, my name is Rukia Kuchiki, and you have to call me Kuchiki classmate in class.
Yes, Kuchiki-chan, Naya agreed with a smile. Looking at this perverted little devil, Rukia Kuchiki hated him so much that his teeth itched. But thinking of the purpose of coming here today, she didn't care about Naya's name, took a deep breath, and said solemnly. From today on, you two will be Shinigami. Chapter 8 Shinigami Agent, Naya, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 8 Shinigami Agent, Naya, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Hey, why'd I have to be a Shinigami? After hearing Rukia Kuchiki's words, Kurosaki Ichigo looked at her with a violent reaction. Nonsense. Rukia Kuchiki gritted her teeth and looked at Kurosaki Ichigo. Last night, almost all of my power as a Shinigami was taken away by you. Now I can't complete the work of a Shinigami by myself. It was only when she went to Urahara's shop that she realized that her spiritual power as a Shinigami was only 1/10 of what it was. In addition, her spirit body was seriously injured. Not to mention performing the work of a Shinigami to kill Manos Grande, she couldn't even get away from her artificial body. But, Kuchiki-chan. Naya blinked and pointed at Rukia Kuchiki's chest. Don't you look healthy now? Don't point there. Rukia Kuchiki had a cross on her forehead. After slapping Naya's finger away, she pointed at her body and explained. This is a prosthetic body, which refers to the body used by Shinigami who have lost their power in an emergency, equivalent to the body of an ordinary human. But the power of Shinigami comes from spiritual power, and the prosthetic body will give up the spirit particles. I use the prosthetic body only to recover from injuries. So before my injuries are healed, the work of Shinigami needs to be completed by the 2 of you. Wait, what's that look? Halfway through the words, Rukia Kuchiki looked at Naya in confusion. The latter touched his chin and asked in confusion, since you are using a prosthetic body, why can't you make your body better? Rukia Kuchiki. No, absolutely not. Kurosaki Ichigo decisively refused. He became a Shinigami just to protect his family. Now that his family is safe, he just wants to live a stable life. Naya rubbed the bump on his head and pointed at himself. Let's not talk about Ichigo. Why do you want to work with me too? Last night, it was Ichigo, the greedy guy, who took away your spiritual power. Kurosaki Ichigo widened his eyes. Hearing this, Rukia Kuchiki gritted his teeth and stretched out his fist with a dark face. So, do you want to refuse? Looking at Rukia Kuchiki's unfriendly expression, Naya said decisively. No, I'll join. Huh. Rukia Kuchiki snorted proudly, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up a little arc, then turned to look at Kurosaki Ichigo. What about you, do you still want to refuse now? This. Kurosaki Ichigo looked at Naya with a tangled face. After all, Naya, why did you agree to be a so-called Shinigami? Really, I have to join too. On the way, Kurosaki Ichigo, who entered the Shinigami state, was wearing a death suit, carrying a big sword on his back, and looked at Naya with resentment. If Naya hadn't agreed to Rukia Kuchiki's proposal, he wouldn't want to be a so-called Shinigami at all. It's obviously very dangerous and meaningless. Hearing this, Naya smiled and patted Kurosaki Ichigo on the shoulder. Ichigo, because you were unconscious last night, you don't know. Kuchiki is a very gentle and strong girl. Even if she was injured, she didn't choose treatment in the first place, but settled you and Yuzukari first, and then changed Yuzukari's memory, fearing that they would be afraid in the future. Such a strong girl, unless she had to, she would not seek help. Is that so? Kurosaki Ichigo was silent for a moment, he really didn't expect this. Then he thought that it was because of saving himself and others that Rukia Kuchiki was injured, and even had the power of Shinigami taken away by himself. I know, I will be a good Shinigami. Kurosaki Ichigo clenched his fists firmly. Far ahead of the two, Rukia Kuchiki was walking on the road, her ears were red, she clenched her fists and muttered softly. Stupid, I can hear you. After all, he is just a teenager.
I'm over 100 years old, I don't need you to take care of me.
Ah. Leave the monster to me. Kurosaki Ichigo waved the giant soul-slaying sword in his hand like a chicken blood. 3 hours later, let me see.
Over there, Amaterasu. The dynamic vision captured Manos Grande in the park, and in Naya's eyes, scarlet flashed and the black windmill rotated.
Instantly, the immortal black flame burned fiercely. Amid screams and wails, Manos Grande's figure was gradually burned to ashes and disappeared into spirit particles.
It's over. Nanae retracted his gaze and stroked his eye sockets with a little excitement.
Won't it consume the so-called pupil power? I don't know whether it is the Sharingan that appeared under the influence of Hōgyoku or the Sharingan formed by the Fullbring technique. In short, these eyes will not consume pupil power. Instead, it is spiritual power. As long as the spiritual power is sufficient, the immortal black flame can be used without limit. Hey, Naya. Kurosaki Ichigo said calmly, then jumped on the spot, pointed at Naya with gritted teeth and said. You burned all the Manos Grande you encountered. Why did you call me out? To admire your handsome figure killing Manos Grande. Ha ha ha. Naya couldn't help laughing twice. Because he suddenly mastered superpowers, he was excited and subconsciously burned all the Manos Grande he saw into ashes.
Rukia Kuchiki ignored the quarrel between the two. She looked at Naya's eyes, frowned and said.
These eyes. What kind of ability is it? It has nothing to do with Shinigami, and it doesn't look like the legendary Quincy. Instead, it is a bit similar to the ability of Hollow.
Hollow. Naya looked over in surprise.
Rukia Kuchiki nodded and explained. Normally, only hollows can use their bodies directly to exert power, and your eyes feel particularly evil and dark.
She just looked at Naya's eyes, and the more she looked, the more uneasy and apprehensive she felt.
It seemed that the eyes in front of her contained boundless darkness and evil, acting on the mind, as if to pull people into the abyss of despair. Evil and darkness. Nanae listened thoughtfully, and he thought of the Sharingan in the original Hokage. The eyes open and evolve continuously through strong emotional stimulation, and can evolve into Mangekyo Sharingan after experiencing the pain of losing a loved one. The second Hokage Senju Tobarama of Konohagakure once said that when the Uchiha tribe lost an important love, special chakra would surge in their brains, acting on the optic nerves, causing changes in their eyes. This is the eye that reflects the mind, the so-called Sharingan.
The Sharingan is synchronized with the power of the mind, and the power of inner hatred can make people become stronger quickly.
The more thoughtful and awakened people are, the more they will be swallowed by darkness. The deeper the darkness, the stronger the pupil power, and the more difficult it is to deal with, just like Uchiha Madara, the Shira of the ninja world. Evil and darkness. The power close to the hollow. Is it really the Fullbring technique? Naya muttered to himself in his heart. The so-called Fullbring technique is the power of the same nature as the hollow, that is, the ability to use the soul in the material.
The soul drawn out becomes a huge power by applying one's own spiritual power, and by using it to manipulate matter, and using the things around as an aid to exert abilities beyond one's own physical functions. Such as the future, Inoue Orihime's shield Shunrika, Sado Yasutora's right arm of the giant, etc. And the Sharingan that he materialized obviously conforms to the impression of Sharingan, but it also has some characteristics of the hollow. It is called Sharingan, but in fact it is a special power in the Shinigami world. That is, the power of the hollow. It can be said that the two Mangekyo Sharingan created by Hōgyoku perfectly blend two completely different things together. The power of the hollow will make people evil and greedy, while the nature of the Sharingan will make people stronger and stronger. After coming to his senses, Naya smiled and said, "It doesn't matter if I can control this power to protect the people I love." Chapter 9 Darker Than Darkness, The Soul Devoured by Manos Grande. Please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 9 Darker Than Darkness, The Soul Devoured by Manos Grande. Please give flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. But this power. Rukia Kuchiki still frowned. Although Naya said so, she still felt that this power was extremely ominous. But thinking of Naya's behavior and words, Rukia Kuchiki's face slowly turned red. Forget it. Rukia Kuchiki shook her head and warned, "It doesn't matter in front of me, but if you see a Shinigami like me in the future, you must never show it in front of them. And Ichigo, you must never become a Shinigami in front of other Shinigami."
Why? Kurosaki Ichigo asked in confusion, scratching his head. Rukia Kuchiki thought for a moment and said, both of you are different. If you are discovered by other Shinigami, you might be eliminated. Eliminated? Kurosaki Ichigo's scalp suddenly tingled. Is being a Shinigami so dangerous? But don't we only become Shinigami in critical situations when we have no other choice? Nanae was not as exaggerated as Kurosaki Ichigo. He had long known what the Seireii was like. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was a feudal kingdom without humanity. In the original work, the dark side of Seireii was shown many times, such as the Technology Development Bureau, which conducted countless human experiments. The current director of the Technology Development Bureau, Kuretsuchi Miyuri, almost wiped out the existing Quincy, just to study the Quincy. And the research value of himself and Kurosaki Ichigo was obviously higher than that of the Quincy. If the news is known to the Seireii, it is unknown how old man Yamamoto will react, but Kuretsuchi Miyuri will definitely not let him go. At this time, Rukia Kuchiki was still explaining. It is against the rules to pass on the power of Shinigami to humans, so once caught, it will not only be me. I know. Naya interrupted Rukia Kuchiki, rubbed her hair and smiled. Thank you for caring about us so much, we will not use this ability in front of other Shinigami. Kurosaki Ichigo also nodded quickly. Seeing the boy rubbing his hair, Rukia Kuchiki blushed, then gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. Little boy, I'm not a little girl, bang. Then, continue. Naya looked forward with a big bag on his head, his scarlet eyes flashing with excitement. He hasn't studied these eyes thoroughly yet. What's going on with those eyes? On the overpass far away from Naya and the others, the two middle-aged uncles from yesterday stood on it, looking at Naya and the others in confusion. Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo were not surprised. Because these two were originally in the plan, and they successfully made them, one become Shinigami, and the other eliminate Shinigami power. But Naya, that weird black flame burned all my hair. Thinking of something, the middle-aged uncle Kurosaki Ishin touched his head, felt the smooth touch, and his face couldn't help but darken. Because his hair was ignited by the black flame, he had to shave his head today. Next to him, Urahara Kazuki, who was wearing a green hat, looked at Naya with interest and said, it's really an interesting power. As he said, he stretched out 5 fingers, and a transparent cube appeared in his hand. If it weren't for the use of Bakudo, that weird black flame would be really troublesome, as if it would never go out. The transparent inverted triangle was burning with black flames. There was clearly no combustible material, but the black flame burned quietly in the transparent inverted triangle, as if it would burn forever. Last night, he and Kurosaki Ishin were tortured by the black flame. Finally, they had to use Bakudo number 62 to seal it, but it was too late and the hair was burned clean. Kurosaki Ishin seemed to have thought of something, and looked at Urahara Kazuki with a gloating look. You wore a hat when you went out today, you didn't shave your head like me. Urahara Kazuki's mouth twitched. Seeing this, Kurosaki Ishin couldn't help laughing, patting his thigh and said, it's so funny, I really want to see the scene when Hiyori sees you. Urahara Kazuki's eyelids jumped, thinking of the girl who liked to call people bald. What a headache. Coming back to his senses, Kurosaki Ishin said, Urahara, you've been watching for so long, have you discovered the origin of those eyes? Oh. Urahara Kazuki tapped his head a little, shyly, and said embarrassedly, I can see that it seems to have something to do with me. Huh. Those eyes exude evil and darkness, and strike directly into the soul. They have the characteristics of a hollow, and seem to have a special connection with Hōgyoku. Hearing this, Kurosaki Ishin stopped smiling and looked at Urahara Kazuki with a dark face. Hōgyoku. Yes, Hōgyoku. The thing you studied at the beginning. Yes, I created it. Urahara, grit your teeth. Hey, why, Captain Kurosaki, calm down, It seems that there is a scream coming from here. Kie opened his scarlet eyes and looked at the source of the sound in confusion, but only saw an empty overpass. Nothing. Kurosaki Ichigo retracted his gaze, pouted, and walked forward with his schoolbag unhappily. I accompanied you for a whole day today, but I didn't cut any hollows. Sorry. Kie couldn't help laughing twice. I encountered 7 or 8 Manos Grande today, but they were all burned to ashes by my Amaterasu. But I saw something. After coming to his senses, Kie looked forward with some doubt, but he was not looking at the overpass, but at the place behind the overpass. There was a sky, blue, and nothing, clearly saw some black matter. Nanaya's thoughts were quickly interrupted by a voice, and Kurosaki Ichigo said with a dark face. Hey, how long are you going to stay with us? What? Rukia Kuchiki pretended to be sad and said in an exaggerated tone. Can you bear to let a helpless, homeless and poor girl sleep on the street? Hiss. Kurosaki Ichigo was frightened by the weird tone and took a breath of cold air, stepped back 2 steps and said. Wait, what's your tone? Rukia Kuchiki raised his right arm and looked at the sky with emotion. Is there any kind-hearted person who can pity me, a homeless Shinigami? Is it an illusion? After retracting his gaze, Naya looked at the 2 people who were arguing and smiled. Is there any homeless Shinigami girl is willing to be my fiancé? I am willing to share my big house with him. Bang. It hurts. In the darkness that is darker than darkness, there are many conical peaks, and the smell of evil and emptiness floats in the air. From time to time, creepy roars can be heard. There are many such sounds, which are terrifying. It is hard to imagine how many monsters are hidden in this dark space. And in a corner of this space, the human soul with a soul lock on the chest, dressed in leather, looked at the hideous Manos Grande in front of him in horror. The Manos Grande, who looks like a lanternfish, stood behind all the Manos Grandes, opened his devilish mouth, and roared like a bewitching. Wandering human soul, eat, take the soul of that man. The human youth in leather was terrified, and finally mustered up the courage, stood up with difficulty, and ran towards the depths of the dark space with rolling and crawling. Go! Accompanied by the roar of the lanternfish Manos Grande, all the Manos Grandes present rushed forward. Ah! The human soul in a suit and tie screamed heartbreakingly. At night, Kurosaki Hospital, accompanied by Creak, the closet door was pushed open from the inside, and Rukia Kuchiki in pajamas yawned and walked out of it. On the bed, Naya, who was leaning on the bed, saw this and couldn't help asking. Rukia, why do you want to sleep in my room? Although the sleeping place was strange, he had seen it in anime after all, and he was used to it. But the question was why it was his own room. According to reason, shouldn't Rukia Kuchiki sleep in Kurosaki Ichigo's room? That was the bedroom in the original work, and the closet space was larger than his own, so it would be obviously more comfortable to sleep. Idiot, does it matter which room you sleep in? Rukia Kuchiki clenched her fists and said, it's just that I sleep here. If you dare to take advantage of me, I will not show mercy. Chapter 10 Breaking News, Inoue Orihime's brother, please give me flowers, monthly tickets and rewards. Chapter 10 Breaking News, Inoue Orihime's brother, please give me flowers, monthly tickets and rewards. May Kamijo Tuma bless you. Clang clang, open the door and kill. In the morning, Naya held the packed quilt in her hand, prayed for 2 seconds, and then pushed the closet door open with a creak. In the closet, Rukia Kuchiki, wearing yellow pajamas, raised her fist with a dark face. What are you doing? Bang! The closet door was closed with a creak. Naya touched her chin, looked at the closet door in front of her and muttered to herself. Did I pray to the wrong person? Should I pray to Makoto-kun? Yuzu, Sha Li, thank you, I'm going to eat in my room today. In the living room, Naya held a double portion of food in her hand, greeted the two girls, and returned to the bedroom. Hey, doesn't Naya-kun usually have breakfast with us? Kurosaki Yuzu looked at the bedroom door in confusion. It must be because of the stupid dad. Kurosaki Shiali looked at the old dad who was kicked down by Kurosaki Ichigo on the ground and said, he always sneaks up on me early in the morning, even though he is already over 40 years old, because of me. Kurosaki Ishin pointed at himself, wrongly, eat quickly. Kurosaki Ichigo said lazily, he knew that there was a guest in Naya's room. It tastes good, thank you for the hospitality. Rukia Kuchiki clasped her hands together to thank the food. Naya was cleaning up the dishes, and when she heard it, she looked at her and said, shouldn't you thank me at this time? Humph, I won't thank an idiot.
After eating, 2 people walked through the door and 1 jumped out of the window, and they successfully went to school together.
On the way, Kurosaki Ichigo carried his school bag and looked at Rukia Kuchiki lazily. Hey, Kuchiki, are you going to work today too? Of course. Rukia Kuchiki said, you are a Shinigami now. As long as a hollow appears, you must kill it. Oh, it's too troublesome, isn't it enough for 7 Yoruichi people? Hearing this, when Naya was about to say something, suddenly, the black eyes turned into Scarlet Mangekyo. That guy is. The scarlet eyes stared at the girl in front. There was a speeding truck on the opposite side, and it crashed straight into the girl without stopping. Without hesitation, Naya stepped hard, and the figure rushed straight to the girl like a wild horse. Mangekyo Sharingan, the rotating black windmill stared at the truck driver.
The latter's expression became dazed, and his body uncontrollably pressed the brake button to the bottom.
With a sharp sound, the truck stopped 3 centimeters away from Naya, leaving a long brake mark behind. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo and Rukia Kuchiki also caught up.
Nana, what's wrong? It's too dangerous. If this car moves forward a little bit.
Then this car will be scrapped, Naya interrupted Rukia Kuchiki casually. His physical fitness is monster level. Even before he had Sharingan, he could easily lift the eye-shaped steel bars on the construction site. Kuchiki Rukia's mouth twitched, and she remembered that the boy in front of her was a monster. That's too dangerous. Why do you do this? Because of this. Naya turned sideways and looked at the blonde beauty who fell to the ground. It was Inoue Orihime, who had a plump figure in the class. Inoue. Kurosaki Ichigo was a little surprised, and then reacted. How did you fall here? It's too dangerous, isn't it? The fallen pedestrian was in the blind spot of the truck, and the driver couldn't see it at all. Fortunately, the truck driver braked. Thinking of this, Kurosaki Ichigo glanced at the driver and prepared to thank him, but was surprised to find that the truck driver was like a ghost, motionless and sluggish. Nanae, look at this guy, why is he not moving?
Kurosaki Ichigo hurriedly called Naya. Naya looked at the truck driver, thought for a while, and stared into the driver's eyes.
Mangekyo Sharingan, After a trance, the driver finally came to his senses, looked at the people in front of the car, and angrily stretched his head and cursed. Get out of the way, don't you have eyes? Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo looked at the truck driver in surprise. Didn't you park the car yourself? Naya knew the reason, so he didn't say much, just squatted down to pick up Inoue Orihime's things, and then helped her off the road. The truck driver didn't stay for long, stepped on the accelerator and left with a roar. Inoue classmate, it's okay, I only have a band-aid here, I'll put it on you first. Naya saw the scratch on Inoue Orihime's leg, so he took out the band-aid on his body and tried to stop the bleeding first. No need. Inoue Orihime jumped up as if frightened, waved her hands vigorously and said. It's okay, I'm fine, although I was injured, but I'm all right after seeing Naya-kun, I'm not injured at all. Am I a panacea? Naya looked at Inoue Orihime speechlessly, and despite her objection, he forcibly pulled up her calf and put a band-aid on it. So, why did you fall there? Rukia Kuchiki crossed her arms and looked at her plump breasts. You are. I'm a new transfer student. Oh, it's Kuchiki classmate, right? Inoue Orihime knocked his head, and then said puzzledly. I don't know why, I just can't stand up on the road. Huh. Hearing this, Kuchiki Rukia seemed to have thought of something and looked down subconsciously. Suddenly, the pupils contracted. There was a hideous black claw mark on Inoue Orihime's slender calf. Kie also saw the black claw mark and frowned. I forgot. It has been 15 years since he traveled through time. Although he still remembers the general plot, some of the small things have long been forgotten. It was not until he saw the black claw mark that he remembered the plot about Inoue Orihime. Now, Kie looked silently at the center of the road, where he just saw a hideous virtual claw. It must be Inoue Orihime's brother. When Kie came to his senses, he found that Inoue Orihime was about to leave. It's okay. This mark may be caused by a truck accidentally hitting it on the road just now. Really, Inoue, be careful. Well, I will be careful. Then Naya-kun, Ichigo-kun, Kuchiki-san, I'll take my leave first. Wait. Naya called Inoue Orihime. Your leg is injured, let me take you home. Inoue Orihime's home. Several people took off their shoes and walked in. After several people sat down, Inoue Orihime seemed to have thought of something, knocked her head and said. I forgot to make tea for you. Then, she hurried to the kitchen to boil water, but there was a clanging sound, and I didn't know what she knocked over. Hey, Naya, Inoue-san is not injured, why are we here?
Kurosaki Ichigo couldn't help asking. Although he looks like a bad boy, he hasn't skipped classes many times so far. Well, Naya turned to look at Rukia Kuchiki. Rukia, can you explain the thing to me? Yes. Rukia Kuchiki nodded, then looked at Naya and asked, did your eyes see the problem? Yes. After getting the accurate answer, Kuchiki Lucia stopped talking nonsense and said with a little heaviness. That is the paw print of the hollow, which means that Inoue has been targeted by Manos Grande, and a hollow may come to take her life at any time. What are you? Kurosaki Ichigo was shocked, and slowly did not expect that this matter could be related to the hollow. Shut up and listen to me. Rukia Kuchiki scolded, and continued. Normal hollows don't leave claw marks, because when they appear, they will directly devour people. And the fact that they left claw marks means that this hollow is newly formed, and it is Inoue's relative. Speaking of this, Rukia Kuchiki was silent for a while, and continued. Hollows are fallen souls, souls that cannot be guided to soul society by Shinigami, because they have lost their hearts. In order to fill the void in their hearts, they will look for the souls of their loved ones in their lifetime. Devour them and fill the void in their hearts. Chapter 11 Rinnegan's Hungry Keto, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 11 Rinnegan's Hungry Keto, please give flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. How could this happen? Kurosaki Ichigo felt unbelievable. Isn't Inoue's family only his brother who died 3 years ago? Died 3 years ago. Rukia Kuchiki's eyes became solemn. Yeah, Kurosaki Ichigo nodded, and after a moment of silence, he said, 3 years ago, because of a traffic accident, brother Inoue died in the hospital at my home. He recalled the scene at that time. The young Inoue Orihime was crying with tears all over his face, hugging the corpse under the white cloth and crying. Brother, don't die like this, don't leave me alone. Naya also recalled the scene at that time, because that was when he first came to Karakura Town. But it only flashed in his mind. Because he was more concerned about his Sharingan, just at the critical moment, he instinctively used another ability. Hypnosis Illusion. Mangekyo Sharingan's own illusion can forcibly consume pupil power to dominate others. It was because of the forced hypnosis that the truck driver suddenly stepped on the brakes, and he was unaware of it after the hypnosis ended. But he was not concerned about the illusion of hypnosis, but the other abilities of Sharingan. In the Hokage world, the Uchiha family ninjas should have systematic guidance after awakening Sharingan, but I don't. No, it's useless even if I have it. This is the Sharingan created by Hōgyoku. Damn it, how can I awaken other abilities? How can I make this Sharingan evolve into Rinnegan? Nana gritted his teeth and frowned as he thought. The abilities of Sharingan are all kinds of strange, but none of them can save brother Inoue. Only Rinnegan and the abilities of Hungry Keto have hope. In the Hokage world, Hungry Keto, who can devour chakra, may have the power of spiritual power and hollow in the Shinigami world. Let's not talk about Inoue or Hime. Sado Yasutora's ability evolves after entering Hōgyoku Mundo. Do I have to go to Hōgyoku Mundo too? But there is not enough time, and I have no way now. Quote. When several people fell into silence, the door creaked, and Inoue Orihime's good friend Arasawa Tatsuki walked in. Ah, Ichigo, Naya, and, why are you all at Orihime's house? Arasawa Tatsuki looked at them in surprise. Rukia Kuchiki's mouth twitched, and said, my name is Rukia Kuchiki, please teach me. Arasawa Tatsuki was not embarrassed, and smiled generously and said, I know, but I didn't remember your name before, but now I know, Rukia-chan. So, what are you here for? To visit. Kurosaki Ichigo came up with a reason. Arasawa Tatsuki stretched out the sound, obviously not believing it, but she didn't care too much and went straight into the kitchen to help. Orihime, what are they doing here? In the kitchen, Arasawa Tatsuki asked curiously. Well, Inoue Orihime put his index finger to his mouth, thought for a while and said, I was injured just now. Although everyone said it was okay, Naya-kun still sent me home. Oh, so, Arasawa Tatsuki was a little surprised, looked back at Naya who was in deep thought, and said. I didn't expect this guy to be so capable. After saying that, Arasawa Tatsuki looked back at the clumsy Inoue Orihime, couldn't help but smile and stretched out his hand. Let me help. Quote. Naya, what do you think we should do? Kurosaki Ichigo looked at Naya with difficulty. It was too difficult to kill Inoue brother with his own hands. That was Inoue's only relative. Naya looked up, glanced at him and said, if you are in the mood to think about this, you might as well prepare for defense now. Why? Naya rolled his eyes at him. Who told you to take someone's sister away? In the original work, after transforming into a hollow, Inoue brother still had some humanity left, and did not attack Inoue Orihime immediately. But targeted Kurosaki Ichigo, trying to use Kurosaki Ichigo to replace his sister. Although there is a possibility that he was manipulated by other Manos Grande, it is also possible that in the eyes of Inoue brother, it was Kurosaki Ichigo and Arasawa Tatsuki who took his sister away, so. Just as Naya was thinking back, the scarlet eyes turned in vain, and turned his head suddenly to look behind him. Damn, why are you coming towards me? Behind him, a deep darkness appeared on the wall. Manos Grande emerged from the darkness and slapped Kie with a palm. Boom. A huge claw mark was slapped on the ground. If I hadn't dodged, I would have been seriously injured if I hadn't died. Kie smacked his lips, and then looked at Manos Grande, who was only Inoue's brother, with scarlet eyes. Hey, Inoue brother, did you find the wrong person? I have never seen you before. Hearing this, Manos Grande, who was originally calm, suddenly ran away, making a violent roar and destroying the surroundings. Roar, kill you, quote. Kie, kill you. Hearing this roar full of hatred, even calling out the name, Kurosaki Ichigo and Rukia Kuchiki couldn't help but look at Kie. Nanai, have you ever offended Inoue brother? Nanai, did you do anything bad to Inoue classmate? No, Nanai was also confused. When he arrived at Karakura Town, Inoue brother had already passed away. He only saw the latter being covered with a white cloth and sent to the car. What are you doing? Are you going to tear down the house? Arasawa Tatsuki walked out and asked dissatisfiedly. Be careful, Nanai and the other two spoke at the same time. Manos Grande stared at Arasawa Tatsuki and rushed over with a roar. Ichigo. Rukia Kuchiki shouted and used a special glove to beat out Kurosaki Ichigo's soul. Kurosaki Ichigo also drew out the soul-slaying sword immediately. And before Rukia Kuchiki spoke, Naya had already stared at Manos Grande with Sharingan. But, no, he will die if I do it. Own black flame Amaterasu will burn as soon as it touches, and the speed is extremely fast. Even using flame control cannot make up for the injury. And at the moment when the two stopped. Boom. Arasawa Tatsuki and Inoue Orihime who just walked out were slapped away by Manos Grande at the same time. Bang, bang. The bodies of the two hit the wall. Inoue, Arasawa, Nanai and Kurosaki Ichigo rushed over and blocked Inoue Orihime and Arasawa Tatsuki. But there were two Inoue Orihime and two Arasawa Tatsuki in the room, two of them were unconscious and two were awake. This is. Kurosaki Ichigo quickly turned his head to look at Rukia Kuchiki. Their souls were knocked out. Rukia Kuchiki just took a look and said the symptoms of the two people, and then said in a deep voice. We need to let them return to their positions quickly, otherwise they will die if they continue for a long time. I know. Kie nodded, and was about to let the souls of the two return to their positions. Orihime. Manos Grande looked at Inoue Orihime and roared. Can't you even recognize my voice? This. Inoue Orihime was stunned for a moment, then raised his head and looked at Manos Grande in front of him in disbelief. Brother, what? Is it Orihime your brother? Arasawa Tatsuki asked in confusion, and then looked at the soul lock on his chest. What is going on? It's too late to explain. Your brother, Inoue classmate, has become a hollow and must be killed immediately. Rukia Kuchiki frowned, but was stopped by Naya halfway through his words. Let him talk, nothing will happen with us here. Just because he didn't want to kill brother Inoue just now doesn't mean there is no way to kill him. Even if he didn't take action, the current Kurosaki Ichigo alone is enough to kill him. But in the original work, brother Inoue seems to still have his humanity, and maybe communication can help them get through the last journey. Rukia Kuchiki was silent for 2 seconds, then nodded slightly. I know. Then, looking at the hand covering her mouth, she looked at Kie with a dark face. Just cover your mouth, why are you pinching? Take it away from me. Chapter 12 Hollow. Transcription seal asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 12 Hollow. Transcribing the seal please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Orihime, it's me, my brother, the one who raised you since you were 3 years old. Come here now, come to me, don't believe what they say, only I will stay with you forever. As long as you listen to me, I promise not to hurt anyone today. Quote. Inoue's brother turned into Manos Grande, seducing Inoue Orihime with a bewitching voice. Brother, why did you become like this? Inoue Orihime covered his mouth, tears flashed in his eyes, and his voice was crying. Why? As if stimulated, brother Inoue pointed at Arasawa Tatsuki furiously. Since I died, I saw you praying for me every day. At that time, I felt that as long as you prayed, everything could be redeemed. But you met this woman and that guy, and gradually forgot about your brother. Now you are in high school and no longer pray for me, so I am so lonely, all because of you. As he said, brother Inoue turned into Manos Grande, angrily slapped the ground with his palm, making a rumbling sound, and then roared. If you had thought of me at all, I would not have become a hollow. Brother, it's not. Inoue Orihime looked at his brother sadly. Seeing this scene, Rukia Kuchiki couldn't help but look at Naya. Hyaku's heart has disappeared, and now there is only one monster left. Even so, do we have to let them continue to communicate? It shouldn't be. Nanai touched his chin. He vaguely remembered that in the original work, Inoue Orihime's brother should have regained his humanity in the end. Is it because he didn't beat him hard enough? Thinking of this, Naya Yoruichi pointed at the ferocious Manos Grande in front of him and said in an excited voice. Go, Kurosaki Ichigoman, beat this Manos Grande to half-death for me and take back your glory. Kurosaki Ichigo. The corner of his mouth twitched, and Kurosaki Ichigo asked with a dark face. Nanai, are you sure that this can make brother Inoue turn back into a human? It's about brother Inoue, and he endured it. I don't know. Naya shook his head. But we need to try. He also thought of many ways to try to save brother Inoue who had fallen into a hollow, but in the end he found that he still couldn't do it. From human beings to hollows, it means that both the mind and the body are eroded by darkness. How to save such a situation? I know. After Nanaya's words, Kurosaki Ichigo no longer hesitated, jumped up, and rushed towards brother Inoue with the soul-slaying sword in hand. Hey! Kurosaki Ichigo roared. At this moment, he felt like tears welled up in his eyes. After 2 days, he finally encountered a hollow. All the hollows before were burned to ashes by Naya. As the blade chopped down, brother Inoue's pale mask was directly shattered. Even because of the slightly greater force, brother Inoue's face under the pale mask was scratched with blood. Brother Inoue covered his face with his claws and wailed in pain. Seeing this, Inoue Orihime quickly looked at Kurosaki Ichigo. Kurosaki-kun. This is the best way. Rukia Kuchiki interrupted Inoue Orihime and said in a deep voice. Whether it is me, Naya, or Ichigo, we are trying our best to save your brother, but in the end there is no way. Kuchiki-san. Inoue Orihime's eyes were filled with tears. Although she didn't know the specific situation, she could see that everyone was working hard for this matter. Brother. Inoue Orihime put her hands on her chest and looked at her brother sadly. Bang, bang, bang. Kurosaki Ichigo held a big knife and slapped it hundreds of times like slapping garlic. Nanai, is this enough? Naya looked at the muddy figure on the ground, touched his chin and said. That's enough. After all, I can't beat him anymore. If I beat him again, he won't be half dead, but really turned into garlic paste. Brother. Inoue Orihime looked at the mud on the ground dumbfounded. Rukia Kuchiki looked at the toothache and couldn't help turning to Naya and said. Nanai, are you sure this isn't torture? Definitely not. After giving a positive answer, Naya walked to Inoue Orihime's side and carried her to the mud. No, Inoue brother. Ziji. Inoue brother's teeth were knocked out and he made an unclear sound. Brother. Inoue Orihime burst into tears on the spot, hugged Inoue brother's body and said. Brother, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, it's because I said at that time, don't leave me alone, so I can't go to heaven. Orihime. Inoue brother gradually regained consciousness. Brother has always been by my side. When we met the car yesterday, it was brother who wanted to grab me and leave. Speaking of danger, grabbing my leg. That's it. Rukia Kuchiki looked at brother Inoue silently. She had never seen such a Manos Grande before. Although he had become a fallen soul, he still protected his sister. Naya looked at him silently without saying a word. This was the scene he saw at the time, but he stopped the car just in case. But if I keep doing this, my brother won't be able to rest in peace. So, that's why I didn't let you see my prayer. In fact, I've always been very happy, but this makes my brother lonely. Orihime. Inoue brother made a painful sound, the pale mask on his face sometimes appeared and sometimes disappeared, and his arms struggled uncontrollably. Inoue brother, what's wrong? Kurosaki Ichigo turned his head and looked at Rukia Kuchiki. The latter looked at Inoue brother solemnly and explained, he is resisting the hollow in his body. Presumably, his soul was forcibly devoured by Manos Grande. And this situation is premeditated. Manos Grande wants to use Inoue brother to do something. Damn it, there is no way. Rukia Kuchiki shouted. Nanai, Ichigo, get ready, now no matter how sad you are, you have to do it. But, Kurosaki Ichigo still hesitated. While he was hesitating, Hiei was also hesitating, staring at brother Inoue with scarlet eyes. Is there really no way out? At this moment, he was thinking frantically in his brain, how to use Sharingan to save brother Inoue. Rinnegan, Rinne Tensai technique, or infinite Tsukuyomi technique. No, it's not something that Sharingan can do. Is there no way out? Roar. Just when brother Inoue roared in pain, watching the pale white liquid wriggling, and about to turn into a mask again. Hiei stared at brother Inoue's eyes and suddenly said, Sharingan Tsukuyomi. Instantly, in brother Inoue's sight, the world suddenly rotated, and in an instant, it appeared in a brand new world. The pale red world was gloomy and terrifying. A blood moon was hanging in the sky, and he was actually fixed on the cross. Where is this place? Inoue, in human form, looked around in horror. This is my world, Tsukuyomi world. Nanai's figure walked out from behind him, holding a slender silver blade. You are that hateful Nanai. Inoue seemed to recognize Nanai, and then struggled. Let me go, I want to see Orihime, is she okay? Wait a minute, I have to deal with this first. Nanai's scarlet eyes looked coldly at another terrifying figure on a wooden cross next to Inoue. It was a hideous Manos Grande, struggling and roaring desperately on the cross. But it could not be imprisoned by the cross anyway. This guy is the guy who ate me. Inoue recognized this Manos Grande, and fear appeared in his eyes. I know, just watch quietly. Hiei slowly raised the blade, and stabbed the blade in his hand into the heart of Manos Grande amid his screams and roars. 1 knife, 2 knives, 3 knives. Chapter 13 Urahara Kazuki, Black Cat Yoruichi asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 13 Urahara Kazuki, Black Cat Yoruichi asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. In the bloody space, the blood moon hangs in the sky. Under the blood-like light, hundreds of wooden crosses are reflected. On each cross, a hideous-looking Manos Grande is tied, and a slender silver-white blade keeps stabbing into the body of Manos Grande. Stab out, pull out, stab out again, over and over again, endlessly. On a cross, brother Inoue, who was not attacked by the blade, trembled and looked at the figure of the black-haired boy in fear. Under his gaze, he didn't know how many times he saw the black-haired boy swinging the knife. Every time he slashed, it would inevitably penetrate Manos Grande's body. Even the concept of time has become blurred. A day has passed, or a month has passed. How long will the black-haired boy swing the knife? Manos Grande, who was still wailing and screaming at the beginning, gradually lost his voice without knowing when. Even so, the black-haired boy was still swinging his sword, constantly stabbing the silver-white blade in his hand into Manos Grande's body. One sword, and one sword. I don't know how long it took. In brother Inoue's blurred view of time, the bloody space suddenly exploded into countless fragments. In front of him, in a trance, he seemed to see his sister Inoue Orihime again. Brother. After hearing Inoue Orihime's voice, brother Inoue reacted and widened his eyes, only then did he realize that it was not a dream. Orihime. Brother, your body. Inoue Orihime pointed at brother Inoue's body in surprise. Under her gaze, brother Inoue's huge Manos Grande body began to slowly decompose and gradually turned into strands of black spirit particles. The dissipated place revealed brother Inoue's body, which had turned into a human appearance. Impossible, the power of the hollow has been eliminated. Rukia Kuchiki looked at brother Inoue in disbelief. The soul degenerates into a hollow. This process is irreversible. This is the iron rule she learned at the Shino Spiritual Academy. And now, the iron rule has been broken. What's going on? What did you do, Naya? Kurosaki Ichigo looked at brother Inoue in surprise, and then couldn't help looking at Naya. Nanai looked over when he heard that. When he saw Nanaya's scarlet eyes, Kurosaki Ichigo couldn't help shuddering. Nanai, what's wrong with your eyes? What kind of eyes are those? Evil, Dark, deep, revealing indifference and emptiness, like the legendary demon. No, a creature more terrifying than the demon. Eyes, has there been any change? Naya looked at Kurosaki Ichigo in confusion, thought about it and walked over to look in the mirror. Huh, it's really scary. It seems that after obtaining Tsukuyomi, the essence of these eyes is closer to the power of the hollow, and even the eyes have changed a little. I wonder where the spirits of the hollows I killed have gone during this period of time. All the emotions are swallowed up by these eyes. No wonder Inoue Orihime and Sato Yasutora can evolve in Hōgyoku Mundo, because this is essentially the power of hollows. Hiei was thoughtful, and as his mind moved, the various emotions in his blood-red eyes gradually disappeared. It's okay, I'm fine. Hiei smiled and comforted Kurosaki Ichigo, then turned to look at Brother Inoue. Brother Inoue, how do you feel? Brother Inoue shuddered uncontrollably when he saw Kia's figure. In the 72 hours in the Tsukuyomi space, it seemed as if 72 years had passed in his feelings. In this long environment, Kia's figure has long been deeply engraved in his soul, making him afraid when he saw it. After realizing that Naya was not the enemy, Inoue brother dared to speak. My body is fine. He clenched his fist slightly and said in surprise, really, it has really changed back, and it is no longer a monster. I knew it. Naya smiled. The Manos Grande in Inoue brother's body is the embodiment of the mind, just like the void white in Kurosaki Ichigo's body, which is not a physical existence. Therefore, Tsukuyomi separated Inoue brother and Manos Grande at the moment of casting. The Sharingan, which acts on the soul, or the mind, can directly harm this kind of existence, and Tsukuyomi is even worse. The 72 hours in Tsukuyomi's space have already cut down the Manos Grande in Inoue brother's body to the point of exhaustion. Naya, thank you. Brother Inoue smiled, a faint glow appeared on his body, and he looked at Inoue Orihime. Orihime, I'm really happy to see that you have friends and are living so happily. I can't accompany you next time. But you have so many friends, so I can rest assured. As he said that, he turned his head and looked at Naya. Naya-kun, I'll leave Orihime to you. Rukia Kuchiki is still shocked. Impossible, the power of the hollow has been eliminated, and it has returned to the human form. Still going to Soul Street. Naya ignored Rukia Kuchiki, he just asked a little unhappy. You can go if you want to, can you tell me before you go why you attacked me before? Before, he thought brother Inoue would attack Kurosaki Ichigo, but, wow, he slapped him and almost killed him. Hearing this question, Inoue couldn't help but smile. Before you came, I always ate Orihime's bento. After you came, Orihime's bento has always been. Naya was full of black lines. It seems that he was in trouble because of that devil bento. So, why do you ask me for help instead of getting rid of Kurosaki Ichigo? Inoue smiled and didn't answer the question. His figure gradually disappeared, and just before disappearing. Ah la la, you can't leave. You still have the power of the hollow in your body. Going to Soul Society will cause big trouble. A light voice came from the balcony. I saw Urahara Kazuki, wearing green clothes and a green hat, appeared there at some point, pressing the hat with one hand. Manager Urahara, what are you doing here? Rukia Kuchiki frowned and looked at Urahara Kazuki. Urahara Kazuki said frivolously. Well, I was just walking around and accidentally felt the power of the hollow. As he said that, he walked into the house and knocked the soul of brother Inoue with the cane in his hand. Bang. Brother Inoue's soul fainted on the spot. What are you doing, enemy? Kurosaki Ichigo was furious and pointed the blade in his hand at Urahara Kazuki without hesitation. Well, calm down, I just don't let him go to Soul Society, otherwise he will definitely go berserk in this state. Urahara Kazuki comforted and picked up brother Inoue's soul. But don't worry, I just took this person home to see if there is any way to solve it. Naya, what do you think? Kurosaki Ichigo turned his head and looked at Naya. Naya was the one he trusted most here. Naya touched his chin slightly. Just now, he didn't feel whether he had killed the Manos Grande in brother Inoue's body. But I think it's not, it just weakened the power of the hollow to a limit. After all, Tsukuyomi's ability does not have the possibility of killing people. With time, the hollow may even go berserk. Okay. Naya nodded. Rukia Kuchiki also nodded, she knew Urahara Kazuki's background. Those people, I'll take my leave first. Urahara Kazuki slightly pressed the brim of his hat, and disappeared on the balcony in a flash. Meow. The black cat that was originally following Urahara Kazuki also meowed, looked at Naya with strange eyes, and then disappeared. Quote. Even cats run so fast. Naya pretended to be surprised and looked at the original position of the black cat. That's the black cat raised by Urahara Kazuki. It's likely that it has some strange abilities. Rukia Kuchiki didn't care too much. After all, Urahara Kazuki was a big man in the past, and it was not surprising that anything appeared around him. Then the next thing is. Hiei stretched, then smiled and looked at Inoue Orihime and Arasawa Tatsuki. Orihime, Longui, Chapter 14. Self-Destruction, Rondanini's Black Dog asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 14 Self-Destruction, Rondanini's black dog, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Hey, Urahara, what was that just now? On the roofs of various buildings in Karakura Town, the figures of Urahara Kazuki and the black cat were jumping on them. The black cat asked as he ran, what exactly is the ability of that little devil? How can he kill the hollow in the fallen human soul? She felt incredible and unbelievable. The process of souls falling into hollows is irreversible, which is almost the truth of the entire soul society. It is precisely because of this that the members of the masked corps were hunted down by the Seraiti after they fell into hollows. To this day, they dare not show up. On the other hand, although he and Urahara Kazuki were also traitors who defected from the Soul Society, the Seraiti turned a blind eye to it. Hearing this, Urahara Kazuki said, the boy's eyes were created by Hōgyoku. His abilities are essentially hollow, similar to Hiroko Shinji and others. He should have some special abilities. Hiroko Shinji. I see. The black cat nodded slightly, then looked at Urahara Kazuki with a dark face. It's your Hōgyoku that's causing trouble again. 100 years ago, because of the existence of Hōgyoku, a large number of Shinigami captains defected from Soul Society. 100 years later, a human monster was created because of Hōgyoku. Urahara Kazuki laughed dryly twice. The black cat was too lazy to care about this and said, according to the boy's ability, can't he transform the hollow back into a human soul? No. Urahara Kazuki shook his head and glanced at his brother Inoue on his shoulder. The reason why the boy was successful is that his mind has not yet completely merged with the hollow, and he did not kill the power of the hollow, but only weakened it to a certain limit. The black cat nodded thoughtfully. Hearing you say that, I am more and more interested in that kid. As he said, the black cat couldn't help licking his paws. When I see him next time, I must test him and see what special power his eyes have. Quote. The next day, early in the morning. Creaky. The closet door was opened. Rukia Kuchiki yawned and walked out, rubbing her eyes, looking at Naya with some curiosity. Naya, why did you get up so early? She also stayed at Kurosaki Ichigo's house for 2 days. Naya would wake up before dinner every day. This was the first time she saw him get up so early. I have something to tell you. Naya looked at Rukia Kuchiki. After what happened yesterday, he found that he was seriously lacking in his means of dealing with the enemy. It's not that his strength is not enough, but that his strength is too extreme. The ability of Mangekyo Sharingan has been developed into Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, Flame Control, Hypnosis, and other abilities. But whether it is Amaterasu or Tsukuyomi, they are extreme abilities. The former will either die or be injured, while the latter will be safe and sound. Flame Control and Hypnosis have no offensive power. If placed in the Uchiha family in the Hokage world, these are not a problem, because they can learn the ninjutsu of the Uchiha family. But it's a bit troublesome here, after all, this is the Shinigami world. Therefore, Naya decided to try other abilities. Quote. Learn my keto. Rukia Kuchiki looked at Naya in surprise, not knowing why he had such an idea. Is it impossible for humans to learn it? Naya thought of something. That's not the question. Rukia Kuchiki shook her head, thought for a while and said, Keto is a Shinigami's exclusive ability. It is very difficult and cannot be learned in a short time. She thought of her experience of learning Keto. It took her 2 months to learn the simplest Hado. It took her several months to learn the 36th Keto Red Fire Cannon. It is said that the Shinigami have a long lifespan and can endure. If it were a human, it would probably take more than half of their life to learn the 36th Keto. It doesn't matter, I'll learn it. Naya's voice was firm, but a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It is very difficult, of course he knows it is very difficult. Any Keto after the 90th is equivalent to the Shinigami's Bankai. But he dared to ask this question not without confidence. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but touch his eye sockets. There is a scarlet eye there. In the third stage of Sharingan, the 3-Tomo Sharingan period, he had the ability to copy ninjutsu. Now that he has the Mangekyo Sharingan and has awakened so many abilities, he might have the ability to copy. Seeing Naya's determination, Rukia Kuchiki could only nod helplessly. Okay, but don't regret it. In her opinion, Naya was just fooling around. Soon, the two came to the open space. Rukia Kuchiki took out the picture on the small notebook and introduced it to Naya. Nana, listen carefully. Keto is divided into 3 types, namely Hado for attack, Kaido for treatment, and Bakudo for confinement. I think you want to learn Keto because of what happened yesterday. In that case, I will teach you the Bakudo in Keto, which can confine the enemy, just like I did to Ichigo. Nana thought of Kurosaki Ichigo, and his hands were pinned behind his back and could not move. While speaking, Rukia Kuchiki thought about it, picked a more difficult Bakudo, pointed his right hand forward, and spiritual power emerged, and he began to chant. Self-destruction. Rondanini's black dog self-destruction. Rondanini's black dog. Read it, burn it completely, cut your throat. Bakudo 9 strike. While chanting, Rukia Kuchiki's right hand was also waving in the air, gradually drawing a red pattern. When the chanting ended, the red pattern flew out quickly and landed on the tree in front. This is Bakudo 9, which can imprison a person or a hollow body. It is more complicated than the one against Ichigo. After the introduction, Rukia Kuchiki waved his hand and said, "Then you practice slowly here first, I'll go back and change clothes." After Rukia Kuchiki left, Naya slowly closed his eyes, and kept recalling the scene of Rukia Kuchiki using Bakudo in his mind. Just now, he used Mangekyo Sharingan to capture every movement of Rukia Kuchiki. The tone of voice when chanting. The movement of the arm. The operation of spiritual power. After demonstrating it several times in his mind, Naya raised his head, pointed his hand at a black cat passing by in the distance, and said, "Self-destruction, Rondanini's black dog, one red, completely burn, cut your own throat." When Naya performed Bakudo, the black cat in the distance arched its body and yawned. Watching Kia's figure lazily, feeling bored, she even lay down, quietly looking at Kia's scarlet eyes, and couldn't help muttering in her heart. The eyes affected by Hōgyoku are different from those of Hirako Shinji and others. Do you want to fight him? Just as the black cat was muttering, Kie had finished the last chant and shouted, "Bakudo 9 strike." The red lines flashed. Meow. The black cat jumped up as if in response, and the black cat pupils looked at the oncoming red light in horror. Originally, she could have dodged it, but because she was too concerned about Kia's scarlet eyes, and because of the current black cat form. In short, she didn't dodge it. The red light hit the black cat with a snap, and the black cat instantly fell to the ground with 4 legs up in the air, exposing its soft belly and struggling. Meow, meow. The black cat struggled desperately with its limbs. But without using spiritual power, it is impossible to break free from Keto's restraint. Damn it, is this the Bakudo I just learned? The black cat almost cursed in her heart. She just used spiritual power, but still couldn't break free from Bakudo's restraint, because the spiritual power used was far from enough to break free. But this is the limit, and she can't use stronger spiritual power, otherwise she will be captured by the Seraiti. But even with this level of spiritual power, she has reached the level of the 4th seat of the Seraiti, but she still can't break the Bakudo on her body. Monster. Haven't you learned it before? How could you learn something so difficult for the first time? Quote. Looking at the figure walking in the distance, the black cat just lay on her back, meowing aggrievedly. Meow meow meow, meow meow meow. Chapter 15. The Grief and Angry Shihuan Yoruichi, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 15 Shihuan Yoruichi in Grief, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Success. I caught a little black cat. Nanai trotted over and looked at the little black cat lying on the ground in surprise. At first, he just wanted to try it out, but he didn't expect that his Mangekyo Sharingan really had the ability to copy 3 Magatama. Just by watching Rukia Kuchiki perform it once, he was able to restore it perfectly. Although he didn't know the speed of normal Shinigami practicing keto, Naya thought that it shouldn't be as fast as he was. Ha ha ha, little black cat, you really helped a lot. Nanai happily picked up the little black cat on the ground. Meow. The little black cat cried pitifully, hoping that Naya could remove the keto from her body. She was too embarrassed to speak. If Urahara Kazuki or Hirako Shinji knew that she was imprisoned by the keto of a human beginner, they would probably laugh their heads off. Kie had no such intention at all, and he fiddled with it cheerfully. Oh, it's still a little female cat, just right, no need to be sterilized. Meow. The little black cat made a shrill sound. If it weren't for the imprisoned posture now, she would definitely raise her little claws to fight Kie. Don't worry, you are also a stray cat. It just so happens that we are destined to be together. If you help me a few more times, I will take you home. Kie rubbed the belly of the little black cat, which made the little black cat's voice even more shrill. At the same time, the little black cat had an ominous premonition. The next second, Kie removed the keto from the little black cat, and the little black cat jumped out of Kie's arms flexibly as if it had been pardoned. Just after running a few steps, I heard a voice from behind. Self-destruct. Rondanini's black dog, in one glance, burn it completely, cut your own throat. Bakudo 9 strike. The little black cat, who had just run a few steps, froze and returned to the shameful posture of 4 legs up in the air. Meow. The little black cat almost cursed in his heart, you are abusing small animals, do you know? If it weren't for the reputation, if it weren't for the consequences of the spiritual power explosion, I would definitely blow your dog head today. Absolutely. For the sake of reputation, I will endure. Facing the little black cat who was playing badly, Kie didn't care and continued to use keto with the little black cat as the target. Bakudo 9 strike. Bakudo 9 strike. Bakudo 9 strike. The little black cat, who was used as an experimental subject continuously, felt that life was hopeless. Her body posture kept changing from upside down to standing, and then to upside down again. But watching Naya becoming more and more skilled, she was also secretly shocked. As the former captain of the 2nd Division of Gotei 13, the former commander-in-chief of the Secret Mobile Force, the commander of the General Corps of the 1st Division of the Criminal Army, and the 20th second-generation head of the Shihuan family, one of the 4 nobles of Soul Society. Even she, who was called Flash Goddess Yoruichi, had never seen a monster like Naya. Evidently, Rukia Kuchiki only taught her once, and even the teaching method seemed so crude and irresponsible to her. But the black-haired boy in front of her learned Bakudo from that kind of teaching. A more talented boy than the genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. Quote. Huh, almost there. Hiei wiped the sweat from his forehead. I can already compress the time to 5 seconds. Next, I should learn instant keto. After coming to his senses, Hiei looked at the little black cat and walked over to pick it up happily. Thank you so much, little guy. Meow. The little black cat's voice was hopeless. In the past half an hour, the B********** D in front of her had smashed 1,000 Bakudo on her. Even though she didn't have Bakudo on her now, she still felt like she was tied up, which could be said to be a very serious psychological trauma. Come on, let me pet you before you go home. I also want to experience the so-called pleasure of petting a cat. Hiei smiled and began to pet the cat. The little black cat's face gradually turned black. Although it was originally black, it became even darker. It feels really good, soft and smooth. No wonder so many people like to keep cats. It is really a spiritual enjoyment. Hiei showed a happy expression, rubbed the little black cat's head and said, "From now on, you are my cat. As my cat, you must do your best and exercise with me every day. Don't go and flirt with the little male cats outside. Let me see. Your nipples are still small. It seems that you haven't found a boyfriend yet. As the saying goes, if there is no man in your heart, you will be a natural god when you draw your sword. Exercise well and strive to beat the black cat of Urahara Kazuki's house one day. Has that cat ever offended you?" The little black cat couldn't bear it anymore and asked with a dark face and gritted teeth. She really couldn't stand this man. He could talk to a cat and even check his own organs. Hiei was stunned for a moment, lowered his head and looked at the little black cat. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a cat as handsome as me? The little black cat asked with a dark face. She had made up her mind. Next, she must take this D to Urahara's store and beat him up in the basement. Beating is not enough to relieve the hatred in her heart. Then, I will also use 1,000 kinds of Bakudo on him to let him see what it feels like. Wait, what's that look in your eyes? Just as the black cat was fantasizing, he looked at the boy who lifted him up in horror. Hiei had a wooden expression, silently posed a standard discus-throwing posture, exerted force with his right hand, and roared suddenly. Why is it you? D. Swish. The black cat's body made a sound of breaking through the air, leaving a beautiful black track in the sky. Meow. A shrill voice came from the sky. After doing all this, Hiei couldn't help but wipe the sweat from his forehead. Too dangerous. The black cat that he caught casually turned out to be the black cat in Urahara Kazuki's house. Thanks to his vigilance, he didn't say anything even when facing the black cat. After all, he had too many secrets. God knows what the consequences would be if it was leaked. As for the black cat that was thrown out, Hiei was not worried at all. That level could not hurt her at all. Nana, I heard your voice. What happened? Rukia Kuchiki came over. Nothing. Just ran into a black cat who likes to peek. Naya shook his head, and then looked at Rukia Kuchiki with a fiery look. Rukia, teach me other keto. He has mastered the ability of Bakudo, which is indeed a very powerful ability. It is equivalent to the sealing technique in the Hokage world, but it is stronger than that. After all, the sealing technique is not as convenient as Bakudo. It's not good to be far-sighted. Have you learned the Bakudo I taught you? Rukia Kuchiki said with her hands behind her back, a little proud. At this moment, she thought of the teacher who scolded her in the same way when she was in the Mao Spiritual Academy. And now she has become a teacher. I've learned it. Nana nodded and pointed her right hand at Rukia Kuchiki. Self-destruct. Rondanini's black dog, burn it all in one glance, cut your own throat. Bakudo number 9. Strike. Instantly, a red light enveloped Rukia Kuchiki's body, causing her to fall to her knees with a plop, her hands behind her back. Her sight dropped rapidly, and she had to raise her head with difficulty to see Nanaya's face. Her beautiful eyes were filled with dullness, and her red lips slightly opened. How is it possible? You learned Bakudo number 7 in just one use. She instinctively couldn't believe it. After all, when she first learned this keto at the Shino Spiritual Academy, she had studied it for a full month and a half. And this was because she was adopted by the Kuchiki family, resulting in the teacher's careful teaching. But when she noticed the restraints on her body, she couldn't help but believe it, because this was indeed the ability of Bakudo no 7. Chenny, how did you learn it? Rukia Kuchiki came back to his senses and asked. Well, let's talk about it later. Hiei blinked, looked at Rukia Kuchiki who couldn't move, and gradually smiled. Well, you can't move now, right? Rukia Kuchiki. Wait, what are you going to do? Hiei, don't come over. Chapter 16. The hell of being killed instantly. Manos Grande, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 16. Instant kill hell Manos Grande, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Kie, what's wrong with your head? In the classroom of Karakura First High School, Kurosaki Ichigo looked at the big bump on Kia's forehead in surprise. It's really big, what a big bump. Kia's mouth twitched. Nothing, I just had water in my brain. Just now, when I saw Rukia Kuchiki unable to move, I was too excited, and the figures of the devil and the angel appeared in my mind. The devil said, what are you waiting for? She can't move now, go and bully her quickly. The angel said, yes, go and bully her quickly. So, quote. That damn bad kid. In the seat, Rukia Kuchiki's face was red, and he looked at Kia's figure with gritted teeth. I just taught him Bakudo, but this bad kid used it against me. It was simply a betrayal of the teacher and ancestors, and a great rebellion. The most abominable thing is that he still has no way to break free from Nanaya's Bakudo. He was tickled by that B*************** D for 10 minutes. Thinking of this, Rukia Kuchiki couldn't help but twist her body, still feeling itchy, and couldn't help but glare at Naya. Ahem. Naya came over, coughed twice, and asked tentatively. Dear Rukia-chan, a mature and beautiful Shinigami like you will definitely not bother with me and will continue to teach me keto, right? Rukia Kuchiki looked at him with a dark face, and she wanted to bite this B*********** D to death in her heart. I won't teach you anymore, I definitely won't teach you. Just now, she suffered a double psychological blow. How could someone be so talented? It took less than an hour to complete her 1.5 months of hard work. Now just looking at Naya, she has the urge to go crazy, as if this B******** D appeared just to hit her. Alas. Hiei sighed and returned to his seat sadly. I just found a teacher, it's all my fault. Speaking of this, he inexplicably thought of Rukia Kuchiki being tickled by him, laughing with tears in his eyes, rolling on the ground with laughter. Laughing and begging for mercy, looking pitiful. He, not bad. Rukia Kuchiki gritted his teeth and wished to add a few more big bumps on his head. Quote. At noon, when eating. On the rooftop, Rukia Kuchiki finally calmed down, came to Kie, and whispered. Kie, tell me secretly, you practice the orbit so fast, is there any secret or trick? No, how could there be? Kie looked at Rukia Kuchiki with a black line on his head. No, Rukia Kuchiki was very disappointed, and even doubted whether his talent was too poor. No, absolutely not. It's obviously that this guy's talent is too strong, it's not like a human being at all. Nanaya-kun. Inoue Orihime came over slowly with a bento, looking at Naya with a red face, and said in a mosquito-like tone. I also made a bento for you today. Really? Naya looked at Inoue Orihime in surprise. I thought you didn't make it for me today, and didn't buy any food. Well, this is a bento. Inoue Orihime's face was red. She wanted to hand the bento to Naya when she came in the morning, but she didn't know why she was always shy. She used to make bento for Naya every day. Nana, Orihime spent 5 hours making a bento for you. Arasawa Tatsuki came over and looked at Naya with some hostility. Speaking of which, I don't know why, I always feel a little unhappy when I see you today. Nana laughed dryly twice. Yesterday, in order to erase this person's memory, I had to use a bit of rough means. Let's have a competition tonight. I always feel that if I don't beat you up, I won't be able to get over this hurdle in my heart. Quote. As several people were talking, Sato Yasutora, who was absent in the morning, came up with a cage containing a parrot. There were OK stickers on his forehead and hands. Keigo Asano said in surprise. Sato, are you injured? Other classmates also looked at him in surprise. In the class, Sato Yasutora has always been known as the Iron Tower, which means that it is hard to imagine that a man like an Iron Tower can also be injured. Sato Yasutora nodded silently. This morning, I accidentally hit a truck. Wow. There were exclamations from the scene. Sato Yasutora continued. The driver was seriously injured. I took some effort to rescue him and just sent him to the hospital. The classmates at the scene were immediately frowning. Kojima Mizuhiro said with a twitch in the corner of his mouth. Sato, come to think of it, your body is still so incredible. Naya couldn't help but smile. Before he had the Sharingan, his physical fitness was even better than Kurosaki Ichigo. But even so, he couldn't compare to Sato Yasutora, who was a veritable Iron Tower. Sato Yasutora walked in front of Naya, Kurosaki Ichigo and others while chatting, and put down the parrot in his hand. The white parrot said, Hello everyone, my name is Shibata Yuichi. Bang, bang, bang. Naya, Kurosaki Ichigo, Rukia Kuchiki, the three of them changed their faces at the same time, and turned their heads to look at the white parrot in the cage. Sato, where did this parrot come from? Kurosaki Ichigo looked at Sato Yasutora with a serious look. As a Shinigami now, he could feel a spiritual breath from this parrot. Sato Yasutora said, I got it yesterday. Hey, you omitted a lot of words in the middle. Keigo Asano jumped up and said, What a bad habit, tell me, where did you buy this parrot from? I didn't omit. No, I must have omitted a lot of words. Quote. Ignoring the conversation of several people, Rukia Kuchiki took a sip of the drink and said calmly, "It doesn't matter, it's just an ordinary spirit, it must be lonely so I want to talk to someone." As a former Shinigami, she is stronger in perception than Kurosaki Ichigo. Kurosaki Ichigo breathed a sigh of relief when he heard it. At this moment, Naya shook her head slightly, her black eyes turned into scarlet Mangekyo Sharingan, and she said, "No, there are traces of hollows. Mangekyo Sharingan can directly see the mind, and this parrot has the soul of a child in its body. And there are traces of hollows on the soul." What? Nana, what did you say? Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo were shocked. They didn't expect Sato Yasutora to be related to hollows. Let me see. Ignoring the shock of the two, Naya stood up from the ground, patted the dust on his pants, and then turned his head to look at the surrounding environment. Because it was a rooftop, the surroundings were in full view. Soon, the scarlet Mangekyo Sharingan stopped and looked at the house not far from the school. Found it. What did you find? Nana, what are you talking about? Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo hurriedly asked, they still didn't know what happened. Hiei did not answer them, but said, "Amaterasu. Flame control." The pupil techniques of the left and right eyes were activated at the same time. The black flames burned over in an instant, and under the control of flame control, they turned into black flame spears. Shua shua shua, a violent sound of breaking through the air attacked. Shua. As the sound of flesh and blood piercing rang out, the Manos Grande hiding in the house in the distance was directly pierced by the black flame spear. Roar ah ah ah, a painful roar came over. A certain Manos Grande, who was completely green and extremely ferocious, showed his figure and looked over here with resentment. How is it possible? I am so far away from you, why can you still see me? Stop quickly, or I will kill that kid. Ah 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 ah. Before Manos Grande could finish his words, the black flame spear without the control of flame control instantly turned into black flames and swallowed his body. In the blink of an eye, Manos Grande was burned to ashes. In the original novel, Manos Grande, who had 2 episodes and even hurt Rukia Kuchiki, was killed by Naya on the spot before he even appeared. Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo were stunned. They didn't realize that there were still hollows hiding around them. Naya retracted his gaze, and his scarlet eyes turned black again. He sat cross-legged and opened the lunch box in his hand. It's over. Then I'll start. Chapter 17. Crazy Shihuin Yoruichi asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 17. Shihuin Yoruichi goes crazy, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Was there something over there just now? On the rooftop, Arasawa Tatsuki looked at the house in the distance with some surprise. There was no one on the rooftop, but she just saw a black figure vaguely and heard a series of roars. Hey, is there anything? Keigo Asano looked over in surprise, and then said indifferently, you must have seen it wrong, there is nothing over there. Other classmates nodded one after another, they didn't see anything either. Seeing that the classmates were like this, Arasawa Tatsuki had to retract his gaze. Is it an illusion? Inoue Orihime and Sato Yasutora also silently retracted their sight. In fact, they also saw a vague figure just now. Mainly because of the shrill roar. Seeing that the classmates said they couldn't see it, they could only think that they had just seen an illusion. It feels familiar. Inoue Orihime couldn't help but look at Naya. What happened last night? Although there was an accident in her memory, she always felt unreal. As if the facts were not so. What made her feel unreal was her longing for her brother, and at the same time her gratitude and heartbeat for Naya. Quote. The gate of hell has appeared. Rukia Kuchiki looked at the black gate that suddenly appeared in the distance in shock. The black gate stood in the air, and the 2 doors were inlaid with white skeletons, slowly swallowing the hideous figure of Manos Grande. Oh, I didn't expect hell to be so advanced, and it's a sliding door. Naya ate his lunch box and looked at the gate of hell with interest. After hearing Naya's words, Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo twitched their mouths. It was obviously such a scary and gloomy gate of hell, but under Naya's description, it simply became a broken door in the city that was not worth mentioning. Nana, you haven't told me what happened. Rukia Kuchiki turned to look at Naya. Nothing happened, I just saw blood and killed him. Nana took a bite of the bento and said, the dynamic vision of Mangekyo Sharingan is ridiculously strong. As long as you look carefully, any hollow around will be captured by it. And according to the vague impression, Sato Yasutora's white parrot seems to have a connection with a hollow. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he simply checked the surrounding environment, and sure enough, he found the figure of the hollow in the distance. It's not as simple as you say. Rukia Kuchiki looked at Naya speechlessly. The hollow couldn't even be detected by herself, it must be not a simple thing, maybe it is considered powerful among ordinary hollows. But looking at the boy who was eating, she couldn't say anything, so she had to shake her head slightly. What a monster. It's only been less than 5 days since the awakening of the ability, but the strength has improved to the point that even she can't understand. Quote. Ding ling ling, ding ling ling. The school bell rang. The students carried their school bags and walked out in groups of 3 or 5. Nanai, Ichigo, don't go home yet, come with me, I have something to give you. Rukia Kuchiki called the two of them. Hey, what is that? Kurosaki Ichigo looked at Rukia Kuchiki in surprise. Rukia Kuchiki glanced at him. Gikonmaru. Quote. Soon, the three of them came to Urahara store. Is this the store? Kurosaki Ichigo looked at the store in front of him in surprise. It was hard to imagine that the grocery store in front of him was a place selling Shinigami items. That's right. Rukia Kuchiki pushed the door and walked in. Kurosaki Ichigo hurried to follow. Only Kie was left outside, staring at the black cat at the door quietly. Mr. Cat, can you let me in? What do you think? The black cat Yoruichi gritted his teeth and looked at Kie. What happened not long ago was simply the shame of her life. As the flash goddess Yoruichi, she was actually held down and ravaged by a mere human, and finally thrown hundreds of meters away. Thinking of this, the black cat Yoruichi gritted his teeth, showing his sharp claws and said, Little devil, be prepared. Meow. With the last meow, the figure of the black cat Yoruichi flashed quickly, leaving almost no afterimage, and only black light could be seen. I'm going to scratch you to pieces. Nanaya's eyes turned, and the scarlet eyes kept catching the figure of the black cat Yoruichi. Meow. The black cat Yoruichi attacked at a weird angle. Just when the claws were about to touch Nanaya's right hand grabbed over and firmly grabbed the black cat Yoruichi's belly. Quote. Meow. The black cat Yoruichi cried out, lowered his head, and stared blankly at the hand that grabbed his belly. Meow. The cat's cry expressed disbelief. Today's self is not the same as yesterday. There is no disguise. Although it is still in the black cat state, Shunpo has been used. But even so, it was still caught. Little guy, you are not obedient. With a smile on his lips, Naya rubbed the black cat Yoruichi's belly again. Meow. The black cat Yoruichi made a frightened cry. Okay, go play. Naya put the black cat Yoruichi aside. Night cat Yoruichi was stunned for 2 seconds, and then he was furious. He was Flash Goddess Yoruichi, the former captain of Shinigami, and a noble of Soul Society. With so many identities, how could he not beat a mere human? Thinking of this, Black Cat Yoruichi gritted his teeth again, thinking that it was his carelessness just now, so he jumped up again. Ha! This time, he was pinched on the mouth by Kie. Hey, it's obviously a talking black cat, but its personality is the same as that of a little girl. Kie pinched the black cat's cheek with interest, and in its sad and angry eyes, he simply let go and put it on the ground again. Meow. Black Cat Yoruichi rushed over in grief. After many times, Black Cat Yoruichi was held in Kie's arms, playing with his belly, looking at the sky with lifeless eyes. It looked like he was played badly. Little black cat, even Meng Huo surrendered after being captured 7 times, and I have captured you 15 times, so you have to be obedient. Kie said happily, and pinched the belly of the little black cat again. He still liked to play with the soft belly of the black cat. Black Cat Yoruichi came back to his senses and looked at Kie's eyes with gritted teeth. I understand, it's the weirdness of your eyes. Even in the black cat state, her speed is still ridiculously fast. And this hateful boy in front of him, his eyes seem to have a unique insight, which can easily capture his figure. Damn, it's my nemesis. Black Cat Yoruichi wanted to transform into a human form and beat him up right now. But he soon became discouraged. If he wanted to defeat this hateful kid, he had to release the vice captain level Reiatsu. But that would definitely be discovered by Jinglingting. Si Lai Shang Ku Hu, Heimao Yoruichi Tien La Tien Zui Chun, Dao, Yu, Ying Jun De Xiaonian, Woji Dao Jie Jia Shang Dian Li Mian Yu Ge Yu Ku De Defang, Ni Yao Bu Yao Zhen Wo Ku Kan Yi Kan. Chi Yi Zhuan Guo Tu, Momo De Kan Li Yi Yan Urahara Shang Dian Shen Chu, Bu Ku, Wei Dui Bu Ku, Ni Ken Ding Shi Shang Ba Wo Dai Dao De Sha Shi, Ran Hu Ba Wo Ge Hen Hen De Zo Yi Dun Ba. Heimao Yoruichi Dun Shi Bao Zo, Pin Ming De Wei Wu Jie Xiao Jiao Zi, Kei De Ren Lei, Ni Shi Bu Shi Hai Paula, Wo Yi Ding Bu Wei Fang Guo Ni De, Ni Hai Shi Tu Yi Ge Gon Dui Wo Jie Mi Zuo De. I, Jie Mi Ma Fan Ma, Chi Yi Wu Nai De Kan Jie Heimao Yoruichi, Ta Ke Bu Shang Zheng Tien Bei Jie Ji Heimao Chan Zu. Bu Pa Zei Tu, Ju Pa Zei Dian Ji, Tien Ji Dao Jie Ji Heimao Wei Bu Wei Fa Xian Xian Mi. After thinking for a while, Kie thought of something, his eyes gradually lit up and said, Wait here for a while, I'll find something to make amends for you. Huh. The black cat Yoruichi's little paw gradually stopped, and looked at Kie with a little disdain. What can a mere human buy? In Soul Society, she is a noble, and she has seen all kinds of precious jewelry. It will definitely surprise you. Kie smiled, put the black cat Yoruichi on the ground, and trotted to a large shopping mall in the distance. What can a human buy? The black cat Yoruichi looked at Kie, who was leaving unhappily, but there was a little more expectation in his heart, so he simply lay down and waited quietly. Soon, Kie ran back and put a green ball in front of the black cat Yoruichi. What is this? The black cat Yoruichi waved the ball in confusion. Kie's mouth curled up, and a bright smile appeared on his face and said. Catnip. Chapter 18. What have you done to my Yoruichi? Please give me flowers, monthly tickets and rewards. Chapter 18. What have you done to my Yoruichi? Please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. At the entrance of the quaint grocery store, the black-haired boy held the green ball between his index finger and thumb, letting the little black cat lick it with his tongue. After just a few times, Uzumaki appeared in the eyes of the black cat Yoruichi, and he walked in a daze, meowing constantly. Meow, meow, meow. With a thump, the black cat Yoruichi fell down, revealing his soft belly, and kept waving his little paws. It looked like he was enjoying it. Hiei was so excited that he couldn't help but poke the belly of the black cat Yoruichi with his index finger. If he dared to do this before, even if the black cat Yoruichi couldn't beat him, he would still come to fight him. But now, the black cat Yoruichi actually meowed comfortably and took the initiative to rub his belly against Kia's hand. Meow meow meow. Well, come on, call me brother. Brother. Hee hee hee. Come on, say brother is handsome. Brother is handsome. Ha 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 ha. Come on, compare your hands with mine, say brother is handsome, little sister will never dare to do that again. Quote. Miss Kuchiki, Mr. Ichigo, welcome back again. Urahara Kazuki, dressed in green, holding a round fan in his hand, happily sent Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo out the door. When seeing Naya squatting at the door, Rukia Kuchiki asked dissatisfiedly, Nana, what are you doing, why didn't you come in just now? Huh, Nana turned around and looked over in surprise. Have you finished shopping? When he turned sideways, everyone saw the scene in front of him. There was a pure black cat with Uzumaki in its eyes, standing on its hind paws, stepping on a ball, and a ball on its forehead. As the two little paws moved, the ball also started to rotate. The ball on the forehead was even more bumped. Rukia Kuchiki, who was originally dissatisfied, suddenly showed an amazed expression. What a powerful little black cat. Kurosaki Ichigo couldn't help but sigh. I haven't seen such a smart little black cat in the circus. Urahara Kazuki. After hearing their words, Naya couldn't help but said proudly, this is just the beginning, Yoruichi, show them a trick. Hearing this, the black cat Yoruichi on the ball shouted proudly, and then stepped on the ball with his paw, and the whole cat jumped up. The ball on his head also flew up. After falling, the black cat Yoruichi stepped on the ball again, and the ball on his head did not fall. Wow, so powerful. Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo couldn't help but applaud. Only Urahara Kazuki's mouth twitched, his face turned blue, then gradually turned black, and finally turned purple, and he shouted in grief and anger. Wait, Mr. Naya, what have you done to my Mr. Yoruichi? Quote. Manager Urahara seems very angry, why, his black cat is so powerful. On the way out of Urahara's store, Kurosaki Ichigo threw the pills in his hand and looked back at Urahara's store with a little confusion. I don't know. Rukia Kuchiki shook his head, and recalled the performance just now with some longing. What a powerful little black cat, it can also perform unicycle. Nanai's mouth corners raised a little arc, and he said with some pride, this is just the beginning, I also taught the little black cat auspicious words. Although he has never raised a cat, he has seen other people raise cats. Catnip is the best weapon to deal with cats. Speaking of which, Rukia, did you buy anything for me? Naya thought of something and turned to look at Rukia. By the way, this is for you. Rukia Kuchiki thought of something and threw a book to Naya. There is elementary keto knowledge on it. You can try to learn it. Maybe it can be used when dealing with hollows in the future. Rukia, are you a god? Looking at the ancient book in Rukia's hand, Naya picked up Rukia Kuchiki and turned her around in surprise. Wait, don't do this, let me go. Rukia Kuchiki's pretty face flushed, and she desperately tried to push Naya with her hands, but she couldn't get rid of Naya's arms with her strength. After finally waiting for Naya to let her go, Rukia Kuchiki said with a flushed face. You damned little devil. Quote. Inside the Urahara store. Urahara Kazuki, with several claw marks on his face, looked at the black cat Yoruichi in front of him and asked tentatively. Mr. Yoruichi, can I ask why you were so obedient just now? Meow. The black cat Yoruichi made an angry meow. He looked at Urahara Kazuki, as if he had an irreconcilable hatred, and pounced on him viciously. Shut up. Don't mention this again. I'm going to kill that damn kid. Ah, Urahara Kazuki screamed miserably. Not far away, the three shop assistants, Tessai Tsukabishi, Sumugaya Yu, and Hanakari Jinda, couldn't help swallowing their saliva and retreated silently. Poor Urahara, the store manager, has been beaten 8 times by Mr. Yoruichi in just a short time. That is to say, this is the first time I have seen Mr. Yoruichi have such a strong emotional response. Mr. Naya. So scary. Quote. The next day, in the classroom. Other students were chatting or playing 8 trigrams. But Naya was different from the past. He sat on the chair and silently looked at the ancient book in his hand, and then his mouth twitched slightly. This is really terrible. It was not copying, but learning that made him truly understand the difficulty of keto. It was not like a human learning. The math problems he learned at the beginning were not so difficult. First, the frequency of chanting, then the transmission of spiritual power, and finally the emission of keto. There are countless knowledge points about any keto. No wonder there are 13 Shinigami captains in the Serai, but only one big keto captain. Because this thing is not something that humans can learn at all. Hey, Naya, how is it? With your talent, you should have learned several keto, right? Rukia Kuchiki came over and asked. Well, Nanaya's mouth twitched, and he turned his head to the other side and said, almost, but I'm not proficient yet. Rukia, can you show me a demonstration? Of course not, keto is quite energy consuming. Rukia Kuchiki shook his head and said. My body has not recovered yet, and I can't use keto continuously in a short period of time. Really? Naya nodded silently, then thought of something, and looked at Rukia Kuchiki in surprise. So, you dragged your injured body to force me to demonstrate keto before. Rukia Kuchiki blushed immediately. Idiot, what are you talking about? I just wanted to hit you at that time, not to help you. Wow, textbook Tsunere. Nanayako Chunin kept complaining, then nodded, smiled and rubbed Rukia Kuchiki's hair. Rukia, thank you, idiot, don't touch me. Quote. Naya, a hollow appeared. Rukia Kuchiki called Naya, who thought of yesterday's Gikanmaru, so he shook his head. No, I won't go today, at least I have to leave Ichigo some chance to fight the hollow, I will stay here today to learn keto. Okay, Ichigo, huh, quote. At noon, quote. Oh, it's too difficult, it's hard, there are many knowledge points that I have never heard of. Naya threw the book on the table. This is like reading an English book without knowing English, guessing, and you can't grasp the knowledge points in the book at all. Or tell Rukia Kuchiki. Nanai touched her eyes, then shook her head with gritted teeth. Absolutely not. If she told Rukia Kuchiki, that guy would definitely laugh at her, and would also tell her not to cheat. Where can I learn? Just as Nanai was thinking, a black cat ran to the classroom door. When enemies meet, they are particularly jealous. When seeing Nanai sitting by the window in the back row, the black cat Yoruichi remembered the shameful experience yesterday, his eyes turned red, and he pounced on him fiercely. Meow. Chapter 19. Shihuin Yoruichi's figure, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 19 Shihuin Yoruichi's figure, please give flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Hey, there's a cat. Although Naya was absent-minded, he had the Mangekyo Sharingan after all, which gave him unimaginable insight. He subconsciously reached out and grabbed it. Paw. The little black cat that pounced on him was caught in his palm. What? It's you. Seeing that the person coming was the black cat Yoruichi, Naya smiled and put it on the table skillfully. Did you come here because you knew I was in a bad mood? I touch. I rub. I stroke. It's comfortable. Naya stroked the cat in a good mood, rubbing the soft belly of the black cat Yoruichi, and touched away the annoyance just now. On the contrary, the black cat Yoruichi was waving his little paws almost desperately. Meow meow meow. She looked at Naya with grief and indignation. But in the cat state, she was no match for Naya at all. Hey, what a cute kitten. Inoue Orihime trotted over, happily hugged the black cat Yoruichi into his arms, and rubbed the black cat Yoruichi's fur with his hands. Meow. The black cat Yoruichi made a sound with difficulty, and looked at Naya with his eyes for help. He was about to be drowned by this plump figure. Don't be ungrateful for what you have. This is something that many people can't ask for. Naya winked at the black cat Yoruichi, almost making the latter angry to death. She is also a woman, what's good about being hugged by a woman? Naya, are you raising a cat? The little black cat who understands human nature very well, and even waved his claws to tell me not to come over. Inoue, the little black cat seems to like you very much. Quote. After finally escaping from the crowd, the black cat Yoruichi jumped onto Naya's table again. Meow meow meow, meow meow meow. Kie rested his chin on his right hand, looked at the black cat Yoruichi lazily and said, I don't understand cat language, but I can hear that you are cursing very dirty. The black cat Yoruichi was so angry that he almost exploded. He jumped onto Kia's shoulder flexibly, lowered his voice, and said with gritted teeth. Damn kid, you haven't forgotten what you did to me yesterday. Really, I don't remember. Meow meow meow, I'm going to kill you. Thinking about what happened yesterday, even now the black cat Yoruichi feels crazy. As a noble of Soul Society, he was actually trained to walk on 2 feet, play with a ball, do backflips, and act like a spoiled child. Even, he was taught to say such shameful words. Meow meow meow, come with me, to the basement of Urahara store. The black cat Yoruichi bit the corner of Kia's clothes hard, as if he wanted to take Kia away by force. No, Naya yawned lazily, pulled up the back of the black cat Yoruichi's neck and put it on the table. If we go to the so-called basement, you will definitely beat me up. No, you must go. Well, Naya thought about it, and suddenly a light flashed in his mind. The corners of his mouth raised a little arc, and he looked at the black cat Yoruichi. It's okay for me to go, but there is a condition you have to agree to. What condition? The black cat Yoruichi asked impatiently. She just wanted to teach this hateful kid a lesson now, and she would agree to any condition. At worst, she would regret it later. Teach me keto. Hearing this condition, the black cat Yoruichi paused for a moment, thinking of Nanaya's amazing speed in learning keto. Okay, I promise you. Quote. The scene changed. One person and one cat came to the Urahara store. Looking at Urahara Kazuki, who was trembling all over when he saw the black cat Yoruichi in the store, and whose face was covered with claw marks, Naya asked with concern. Manager Urahara, are you okay? Urahara Kazuki's mouth twitched, and he looked at the black-haired boy in front of him with a dark face. Who do you think is the reason why I am so miserable? Because Naya escaped early yesterday, Yoruichi, who was almost going crazy, directly poured out his anger on him. Feeling the pain on his face, Urahara Kazuki almost had the urge to cry. Is it because Naya and he are not compatible? Why do I get unlucky when I see this kid? First my hair was burned, and then my face was scratched. Tell me, what do you want to buy here? I'm not here to buy anything. Naya shook his head and pointed to the black cat Yoruichi on his shoulder. Miss Yoruichi wants to take me to the basement. Hurry up, the basement is over here. Before Naya could finish her words, Urahara Kazuki greeted Naya with a smile on his face. Not far away, Tessai Tsukubishi, Sumugaya Rain, Hanakari Jinda, the three of them silently mourned for Naya for 2 seconds. Poor kid, you were finally tricked by Mr. Yoruichi. I hope you can come back alive after going to the basement this time. One person and one cat walked into the basement. After the two walked in, Urahara Kazuki closed the basement door with a snap, turned to look at Tessai Tsukubishi. Tessai, hurry up, go get the padlock. No, don't get the padlock, come here, hit a few bakudo on this basement door. Sumugaya Rain, Hanakari Jinda, the two teenagers looked at Urahara Kazuki dully. They have worked in Urahara's store for decades, and this is the first time they have seen Urahara Kazuki so excited. Mr. Kie, how pitiful. That guy won't be kicked to death by Mr. Yoruichi. Quote. It's really incredible. In the basement, Kie, who had just walked in, looked around in amazement. It was not a normal dim basement, but an endless desolate land, without green vegetation, with gravel hills and withered peaks everywhere. There was no sun in the sky, but it was still bright here. Only at a very close distance can you see the traces left by the battle, the black after burning, the knife marks left by the blade. Looking at it, Kie suddenly realized something and looked behind him. In the wisps of light, the figure of the black cat Yoruichi kept getting bigger and gradually turned into a human form, with a graceful figure and black hair hanging down to the waist. Wow! Kie exclaimed instinctively. Just when he was about to take a closer look, a black figure suddenly jumped out from the light. Little ghost, go to hell. The black-skinned jade legs attacked, with delicate lines and a sense of strength, but due to the great power, all 5 toes jumped up. Wow! As Kie sighed, his figure was kicked dozens of meters away by this kick, and crashed into the rocky mountain with a bang. Cracks. The solid rock mountain continued to spread cracks. The falling rubble almost buried the black figure, but Kie still climbed out with difficulty. Which, trying to destroy my Dao heart. Kie's mouth twitched. If he hadn't focused on the black-skinned beautiful legs, he could actually react to the kick just now. Little boy, are you ready? Yoruichi, who turned back into a human, appeared in front of Kie and looked at him with gritted teeth. I won't let you go. Kie. He stared blankly at the scene in front of him, naked, with a wheat-colored complexion and a perfect figure, which made people feel a kind of wild beauty. She had a graceful figure and an attractive texture, as if she was emitting a faint luster all over her body. Why don't you wear clothes? Kie stared blankly at Shihun Yoruichi and couldn't help swallowing his saliva. I always felt my heart pounding. What kind of ball is this? After hearing what Kie said, Shihun Yoruichi came back to his senses. Ah, sorry, I forgot because I haven't worn clothes for a long time. Speaking, Shihun Yoruichi raised his head. But I didn't expect that you are still so innocent. Is this the first time you see a girl naked? What's so good about this thing? Kie kept a hard-mouthed attitude. That, Shihun Yoruichi hesitated. What's wrong? Naya asked unhappily. Shihun Yoruichi pointed at Naya's face. You have a nosebleed. Naya. He touched his nose silently, put it in front of his eyes, and sure enough, a bright red liquid flowed out. You are so nagging. This is because you kicked me before. I didn't kick your face. Shihun Yoruichi smiled, took out a black short-sleeved shirt from somewhere, and said while putting it on, don't you look at it more. A girl's skin is so smooth, if you miss it now, you will never be able to mature in your whole life. Naya's heart was beating wildly, and he couldn't help but reveal his Mangekyo Sharingan. Just when he looked up, another slender beautiful leg kicked over, and the foot kicked Naya's face. Boom. Chapter 20 Mangekyo Sharingan. Hollow asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 20 Mangekyo Sharingan. Hollow please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Crack, crack, the rock mountain keeps breaking. Naya, who was sitting at the foot of the rock mountain, had a dark complexion and threw the rock that hit her head aside. Which, you dare to sneak attack me? After being kicked twice in the face, even though his physical fitness was enhanced after awakening Sharingan, he still felt great pain. Shihoin Yoruichi said while tying her purple hair into a single ponytail. What? I didn't sneak attack you. There should be no sneak attack in front of your eyes. After this period of communication, she gradually understood the ability of Nanaya's eyes. Apart from the many pupil techniques, the dynamic vision alone was ridiculously strong and could completely capture her figure. If that's all you have, I'm really disappointed. I don't want to beat up a human sandbag. Shut up. Hiei pointed at Shihoin Yoruichi with a dark face. You only wear the upper body. If he hadn't seen something he shouldn't have seen, he wouldn't have been kicked. Oh, Shihoin Yoruichi finally reacted and looked down at her long legs. Sorry, cats don't wear pants. Shut up. Most people wear pants first, right? Quote. After changing everything, Shihoin Yoruichi pulled at his clothes a little uncomfortably. Clothes are really hard to get used to. They're not needed in a fight, but you're so careless. Shut up. Hiei felt his face turn red. In his 2 lives, this was the first time he saw a girl naked. He used to talk nonsense with people, but who would have thought he'd meet such a bold girl, which almost made his heart beat 180 miles per hour. Yes, I'm wrong, but you should be ready, right? Shihoin Yoruichi looked at Naya with a bad look. Don't be careless, I won't hold back. In the next battle, it's really possible to die. Naya gradually calmed down and exhaled. I know. He would not underestimate Shihoin Yoruichi just because he ravaged Black Cat Yoruichi. Shinigami are a group of monsters, with countless more lifespans than humans, and they have been accustomed to death for countless years. For example, Kurosaki Ichigo in the original work, when he regained the power of Shinigami. He almost became a hollow. At that time, Urahara Kazuki was watching from the side. According to what we agreed at the beginning, as long as I catch any part of your body, I will win, right? That's right. Shihoin Yoruichi nodded, tapped the ground with his bare feet, and smiled. But, do you really think you can catch me? The moment the voice fell, Shihoin Yoruichi's figure disappeared instantly, and only the purple light left by his purple hair could be seen. So fast. Nanaya's pupils shrank. It was not just fast. Even with the dynamic vision of Mangekyo Sharingan, Shihoin Yoruichi still felt very fast. And this situation often means one thing. Bang. Shihoin Yoruichi's bare feet flexibly stepped on Nanaya's head. Crack. The rock under Nanaya's feet was crushed alive. If it weren't for the rocky ground, Shihoin Yoruichi's kick alone could have crushed Naya into the soil. The body can't keep up with the eyesight, just like Sasuke in Hokage, commonly known as high-minded but low-skilled. Naya smiled bitterly. When he saw Nanaya's speed, he already felt something was wrong, because it was exactly the same as Sasuke in Hokage. During the Chunin exam, Sasuke and Rock Lee had a brief fight. Although he had Sharingan, he was almost crushed by the latter. Because his body could not keep up with his eyesight, he could not fight back even if he saw Rock Lee. Bang. Continuous blows came. Naya wanted to fight back several times, but he could not catch Shihoin Yoruichi at all. This woman didn't even look at him. A silver bell-like laughter came in the air. Give up, I know there is something wrong with your eyes, I won't look at you. His mouth twitched, and then his face turned black as he looked at the flashing purple light around him. You are so fast, I can't catch up with you, but what can you do if I block the road? Amaterasu. The left eye's pupil technique exploded. From the scarlet eyes, the black eternal fire gradually ignited the earth, and as the eyes turned, the black flame ignited the surroundings. The black flame was silent, just burning quietly, but it was even more terrifying. Flame control. The right eye's pupil technique exploded. The flames burning on the ground seemed to be attracted by an invisible force, burning violently, and gradually formed dozens of black flame javelins. Under the control of flame control, dozens of black flame javelins shot out quickly, and the target was the flashing Shihoin Yoruichi. You did a good job. You can actually think of this method, but this weird black flame is indeed a bit troublesome. Shihoin Yoruichi looked at the black flame thoughtfully. She had not forgotten that Urahara Kazuki had suffered a loss in front of this black flame not long ago and had to shave his hair with great pain. Glancing at the black flame javelin behind him, Shihoin Yoruichi did not take it seriously. Because it could not catch up with his pace at all. Then, as soon as he stepped on the ground, Shihoin Yoruichi's figure soared into the air, and began to walk in the air, quickly approaching Kie in the sky. Flame control. Chai controlled the black flame without hesitation. When performing pupil techniques without consuming pupil power, he only needed to consider the consumption of spiritual power. The overwhelming black flame swept over, covering the sky and the sun in just an instant, almost covering the entire sky above Kie. What a troublesome ability, can't you really touch it? Shihoin Yoruichi frowned, tapped his bare feet in the sky, and a strong reiatsu burst out from his body, showing a golden color. It was as if a golden flame was ignited on his body, and the air seemed unable to bear this weight. After putting on a layer of spiritual power defense, Shihoin Yoruichi took a step and rushed towards the oncoming black flame without hesitation. In an instant, the black flame enveloped Shihoin Yoruichi. It keeps burning my Reiatsu. Shihoin Yoruichi was startled and broke away from the flame and stood back in the air. The black flame on her body burned quietly. Although it looked tepid, it was indeed constantly igniting her spiritual power. And the speed was extremely fast, burning a lot of spiritual power every second. She tried to take back her spiritual power, but without spiritual power as a combustible, the immortal flame burned towards her body like a maggot attached to her bones, and Shihoin Yoruichi was frightened and quickly exploded her spiritual power. It's really a very tricky ability. No wonder even Urahara Kazuki suffered a loss. Shihoin Yoruichi frowned. However, if I ignite my spiritual power at this level, it will take at least 3 days to burn out my spiritual power. After obtaining specific information, Shihoin Yi took a deep breath and rushed directly into the boundless black flames this time. Flame control. Kia's scarlet eyes turned and controlled the black flames on Shihoin Yoruichi's body. The boiling black flames became extremely sharp at the moment of being controlled, stabbing at Shihoin Yoruichi's body like a blade. Not good. Shihoin Yoruichi's face changed. Boom. The golden Reiatsu burst out again, forcibly isolating the stabbing black flames, but the consumption of Reiatsu also doubled. Gritting his teeth, Shihoin Yoruichi quickly approached Kie in this posture. No way, how much hatred do you have? Nanai had no choice but to use the latest ability. Self-destruction. Rondanini's black dog, 1 red, completely burn, cut your own throat. Bakudo 9 strike. A red light flashed, but was easily dodged by Shihoin Yoruichi. The latter raised his right foot, with golden Reiatsu boiling on his foot and black flames burning at the same time, and kicked Nanai's face fiercely. At this moment, the world seemed to be silent. No. It was the world that stopped in the sight of Mangekyo Sharingan. The scarlet eyes turned. In the past period of time, the spiritual power of Manos Grande, who was killed by Nanai, was strangely integrated into Mangekyo Sharingan. Nanai subconsciously said, Mangekyo Sharingan Hollow. Chapter 21 Hado 33. Blue Fire Falling, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 21 Hados 33 Blue Fire Falling, please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Kamui. Hollow. When the words fell, Kie could clearly feel the changes in her body. She was clearly in this world, but it seemed that she had entered another dimension, and there was a strong sense of tearing from the current world. Shua. Shihoin Yoruichi kicked fiercely. This kick should have been a sure thing, but when it touched Kia's cheek, Shihoin Yoruichi's face changed drastically. What is this touch? You know, she is not wearing shoes now, and the touch of bare feet is stronger. Even so, she still didn't feel like she touched anything. It was as if she kicked the air. And it was as if she didn't kick anything. Her figure flashed by, and in the eyes of disbelief, her whole body passed through Kia's body. What's going on? At the moment she passed through Kia's body, Kie stretched out his right hand and grabbed Shihoin Yoruichi's hair tie. The purple long hair suddenly scattered. The graceful figure, agile body, and the scattered purple long hair show a beautiful scene. Unfortunately, Kie didn't pay attention to this, but looked at his palm with a little surprise. He didn't know when he had released the hollow. Is it almost instinctive power? He can enter the hollow posture with a thought, and can release the hollow posture at any time and return to the physical posture. Little ghost, what is your ability? Shihoin Yoruichi looked at the long hair scattered on his shoulders, and couldn't help but grind his silver teeth, gnashing his teeth and looking at Kie. It's really a big loss. I didn't expect this little ghost to have such a weird ability. Obviously, I brought her to the basement to beat him up, but I didn't beat him up, and I got a hair tie instead. This is not in our original agreement, right? Kie came back to his senses, took back the eternal fire from Shihoin Yoruichi, shook the hairband in his hand and smiled. I won. According to the agreement, you should teach me keto now. Crack, crack. Shihoin Yoruichi gritted his teeth again, wanting to beat him up regardless of the agreement. But after hesitating for a moment, Shihoin Yoruichi gave up the idea. After all, he was a noble of Soul Society, so he still had to have some face. Okay, watch it. Shihoin Yoruichi turned his head and pointed his right hand at the open space in front of him. Hado 1 charge. The invisible shock wave burst out from the index finger, hitting the rock in front of him, leaving a clear fingerprint on the rock. Hey, wait. Kie hurried over. Seeing Naya's panicked expression, Shihoin Yoruichi raised a little arc at the corner of his mouth, snorted proudly, but did not slow down. Hado 4. White thunder. A dazzling white lightning burst out from the wheat-colored slender index finger, hitting the rock in front of him like a laser. Swish. A hole was pierced through the rock. Nanai was very upset. Ms. Yoruichi, it's too much. You performed it so quickly, and you haven't chanted yet. Hado 5. Seeing that Shihoin Yoruichi didn't pay any attention to her, Naya could only continue to watch with a sad face. Shihoin Yoruichi was so proud in his heart. He did say that he would teach you keto, but he didn't say how to teach you. Perform keto without chanting. Extremely fast speed. Perform continuously. With these three conditions combined, it is impossible for anyone to learn keto. Hado number 33. Blue fire falling. In less than 5 minutes, Shihoin Yoruichi had already reached keto no. 33. After using keto no. 36, Shihoin Yoruichi did not stop at all and perfectly connected Bakudo and Kaido. After spending another 10 minutes to perform these two keto, Shihoin Yoruichi turned around and looked at Naya proudly. Little ghost, how is it? Have you learned it? How is it possible? Naya looked at Shihoin Yoruichi with a sad face. Ms. Yoruichi, it's too much. Who can learn at your speed? That has nothing to do with me. I taught you all the keto of number 36 as agreed. At this point, Shihoin Yoruichi changed the subject. How about, do you want to fight me again? If you win this time, I will teach you well. Well, Naya sighed and shook her head. I'd better practice by myself first, just in case I learn it. Puff. Shihoin Yoruichi laughed out loud. Then you practice slowly first, just in case I go out to put on my shoes. Speaking of this, Shihoin Yoruichi turned around, stretched comfortably, and left the basement with a smile on her face, feeling very happy. Originally, she thought that only by beating Naya could she feel comfortable. Unexpectedly, seeing Naya's frown, she felt even happier in her heart, and her whole mood became much better. After Shihoin Yoruichi left, Kia's eyes gradually lit up. Great, it's still a non-chanting keto. If it weren't for the possibility of being noticed by Shihoin Yoruichi, he would have jumped 3 feet high now. You know, whether it's a keto after chanting or a keto without chanting, they are equal under the Sharingan's copying ability. But the keto without chanting has a much greater advantage than the keto after chanting. Thinking of this, Kie couldn't wait to point his right hand forward, his spiritual power circulated, and he opened his lips and teeth slightly and said, Hado number 33 blue fire falling. There was no process from simple to complex, and he directly chose the more difficult Hado no. 33. In an instant, blue fire gradually appeared in the sky of the underground space, and it was a blue flame meteorite falling from the sky. Boom. Quote. Yoruichi, what's the situation? In the Urahara store, Urahara Kazuki asked cheerfully, did you beat that kid badly? Hearing this question, Shihoin Yoruichi, who was originally very happy, suddenly turned pale. Are you looking for a fight? No way. Urahara Kazuki widened his eyes, looking at Shihoin Yoruichi's reaction, he guessed an unbelievable result. You fought with that kid and suffered a loss. Shihoin Yoruichi gritted his teeth, then said with a dark face, yes, that kid stole my hairband. Urahara Kazuki then discovered that Shihoin Yoruichi's purple long hair was actually scattered. Really? Mr. Yoruichi, you are Flash Goddess Yoruichi. Tessai Tsukubishi cast a shocked look. Sumugaya Yu and Hanakari Jinda also opened their mouths wide. Those who can work in Urahara's store know about Shihoin Yoruichi's identity. There are many identities, but one of them is the Shinigami captain, which means he has the combat power of the captain. That kid's ability is too weird. Shihoin Yoruichi gritted his teeth and said, if his body hadn't suddenly disappeared, my hairband would not have been taken away by him. Tessai Tsukubishi and others were still shocked. You know, in the space of the basement, isolated from Reiatsu, Shihoin Yoruichi can fully burst out the combat power of the captain. In other words, the captain level Shihoin Yoruichi suffered a great loss. Thinking of this, they were shocked. A mere human being affected by Hōgyoku, it took less than half a month to match a Shinigami captain. Growth and strength are terrible. If he continues to grow, he may really be able to match the Shinigami captain head-on. After a while, Shihoin Yoruichi returned to the basement, and after taking a look, a puzzled expression appeared in her beautiful eyes. My keto, is the range so large? I don't know if it's an illusion, she always feels that the ruins around her are larger than before she left. Why are you talking so much, do you still want to compete? Nanai's mouth curled up, looking at Shihoin Yoruichi happily. Of course, Shihoin Yoruichi agreed decisively. The competition conditions are the same as before, as long as you grab my body part, you will win.
Okay. Nanae also agreed. On the other side, Urahara Kazuki, Tessai Tsukubishi, Sumugaya Yu, Hanakari Jinda, the four of them also came to the basement space. They were also a little shocked by what happened just now, and didn't want to give up watching the second competition. Chapter 22 Copy Shunpo, the figure that turns into a residual shadow, asking for flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. Chapter 22 Copy Shunpo, the figure that turns into a residual shadow, please give flowers, monthly tickets, and rewards. How did this guy defeat Mr. Yoruichi? Hanakari Jinda carried a baseball bat and looked at Naya in disbelief. He looks like a human, but he can do this. Ordinary humans can't even beat one of his fingers, but this guy in front of him actually made Shihoin Yoruichi suffer. It's those eyes. Tessai Tsukubishi stared at Nanaya's eyes solemnly. Such a deep darkness, ultimate suppressed negative emotions. Mr. Nanaya's power is so similar to the power of the Hollow. Sumugaya Yu looked at Nanaya's figure weakly. Everyone, please be quiet. Urahara Kazuki clapped the folding fan in his hand and looked at the two people in the center of the battlefield with a smile. I also want to take a closer look.
What kind of ability can make Yoruichi suffer a loss? It must be amazing. Quote. Little devil, you won the last competition, but this time, I will not hold back at all. Shihoin Yoruichi looked at Naya seriously. As a noble of Soul Society, she can allow a loss once, but she will never allow 2 losses to the same person at the same time. I know. As Nanaya's voice fell, golden spiritual power burst out from Shihoin Yoruichi. Boom. The golden spiritual power burned like a flame. The surrounding space became extremely heavy, and it seemed that even the ground could not withstand this level of reiatsu, and it kept breaking and cracking. The foot wearing shoes stepped slightly on the ground. Boom. The ground was instantly crushed, and billowing smoke and dust filled the air, and a huge pit appeared in the original place. Shua. Purple light flashed. Faster than before. Nanaya's eyes were solemn. Mangekyo Sharingan kept capturing Shihoin Yoruichi's figure at this time. With a Shua, Shihoin Yoruichi's figure rushed directly to his face, and his right hand grabbed Nanaya's neck.
However, this weird situation again. Shihoin Yoruichi's pupils shrank, and his body once again passed through Nanaya's body. Even though he could see the other party's figure with his naked eyes, the other party's body seemed to be not in this space. Even Reiatsu couldn't feel it. Space-related ability. Urahara Kazuki's eyes were solemn. Is he transferring his body to another space? Because keto has many uses of space, he recognized the essence of the pupil technique hollow at the first time.
Enter the alternate space anytime and anywhere, and only keep the illusion in the outside world. No, it's not just that. If you can transfer your own body to the alternate space, it means that you can also transfer the enemy's body. If you suddenly enter the hollow form in the battle, the enemy will not have time to react. Urahara Kazuki's heart was shaken. The more he understood the ability of hollow, the more terrible he felt this ability was. If the vice captain of the Seraiti had this trick, even if the Shinigami captain of the Seraiti came, it would be difficult to defeat him, and he could completely challenge him above his level. If the Shinigami captain who didn't understand keto, it would be even more difficult. Space-related abilities. So, if you want to catch Mr. Naya, you can only confine the surrounding space. Tessai Tsukabishi's expression was also solemn. Most of the keto who can confine space are high-ranking keto above level 60, and it is extremely cumbersome to perform. No need. Urahara Kazuki came back to his senses, shook his head slightly, waved his folding fan and said with a smile, "What a terrible ability, but such a powerful ability can never be used all the time."
But even so, this ability is terrible enough. Urahara Kazuki thought silently. I can't attack you, and you can't attack me. In this case, I want to see how long you can last.